Hey everyone out there in HeroClix land. This is like one of the few occasions I can steal your line, Scott.
No, what am I gonna say now?
Whatever you absolutely want to say, that is for sure. So hi everyone, I'm V Muse. I'm here with Wiz Kids, and with me is Scott Porter, and we're kind of changing it up a little bit for a very special pre-release that's happening right now for Spiderverse. Um, we're going to be doing a fun live stream unboxing, which means you're going to get some really cool behind the scenes information, some off the cuff questionings, because it's not just me and Scott today. No, no. Oh, no. We actually have some special guests who will be joining us very soon. But before we jump into that, Scott, what would you like to say to everyone who's watching us in the stream right now here on YouTube?
I can't help it. What is up, everybody out there in HeroClix land? This once again is Scout Porter back for a very special, actually, like V said, unboxing. Because even though it's not the traditional, 5 videos that everybody's used to, we are still unboxing my brick
Yeah.
today. So we're going to open these 12 boosters that we're getting now. And we're going to take a closer look at each of the figures that I'm pulling in there. Not each and every one of them. We would be here for 7 hours. And we all know I can get to talking. But we're going to do some story time with Scotty P. We've got some really interesting questions on how this set was put together and why certain characters are in here, and then we're going to open it up to everybody out there in the live chat towards the end for some question and answers. So it really does, to me, feel like when you are at your local comic shop and you're cracking your brick with all of your best friends.
Yeah.
And that is such a cool thing to be able to do today. I feel like that on the unboxing series sometimes, but I'm just talking to myself. Today, I actually get to interact with other human beings. So
Yes.
I'm very, very excited. So thank you to everybody who's joining us today. And I can't wait to get into this.
Yeah, me either. And like Scott said, we are going to be taking some questions towards the end of the stream. So if you do have questions, all you need to do is just pop them into the YouTube chat. And we have someone who's going to be pulling them for us and putting it into a little document that I'm going to look over and start asking as we get to the end. However, I'm going to make sure that we're clear about what the questions are going to be about. This is strictly for Spider-Verse because we don't want to lose time to talking about other products. This is all about Marvel HeroClix, Spider-Verse, having fun, pre-release day, and everything like that. So please make sure you focus your questions on that particular question line as opposed to other questions you might have for us about other HeroClix products. So just want to make sure that's said nice and fresh and out of the gate. So Scott, what would you like to do first? You mentioned story time. You want to get into story time? What do you want to do?
Yeah, no, I think when you are dealing with a set that is called Spider-Verse, my head immediately starts spinning and going, okay, what should I
Mm.
be looking at? Because right now, in the zeitgeist of pop culture, everybody is thinking about maybe those movies, right? With Miles is the center of. But all things that come out in that form have an impetus that is based in the comic books. So the original Spider-Verse is actually a very strong Peter Parker story. It is a story about the Inheritors, who are these like beginning of time hopping space traveling vampires who are built to eat the spider totems of the multiverse. Now, I know that is a very complicated sounding thing, but if you think about it like this, and they do a very good job of it, they set up a great web, and the web reaches to every single universe in the multiverse, and it picks one person to be the spider totem. These guys are spider totem hunters, and that means that Marvel gets to go completely crazy by introducing as many new takes on Spider-Man as you could ever possibly shake a stick at. So the original Spider-Verse story is really, really cool. And if you want to read a little bit more about Morlun and the Inheritors, the main villains of that first one, you can go back to Amazing Spider-Man from years before that and see the introduction of that guy, that family, those villains. And then you get into Spider-Geddon. Then you get into the Web Warriors. These are books that I also recommend. And then finally, the third Spider-Verse has Miles Morales kind of at the as the focal point. And each of these stories focuses on a different set of main spiders that become your heroes, right? Spider-Ham, Spider-Man Noir. These are some of the Spider-Man UK, who I
Mm-hmm.
love. I love the fact that we
So
have a
same.
Captain Britain Spider-Man
Yeah.
in the books. So these are the stories that I would say to go back and read. I love the fact that HeroClix, and I always say this, has like three major sets of fans, right? You have gamers who love to look at these dials, to figure out how to min-max their teams, who want to roll dice and destroy their opponent sitting across the table from them. You also have people who came to this game by way of their comic fandom. right? People who love the books and just love the fact that they can play a game and maybe sometimes casually with buddies instead of just
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
cutthroat fashion
yeah.
with some of their favorite characters. And those people I find latch on to maybe more obscure characters. And they're going to be so excited because I think this set has a chance to have some of those obscure characters. And then you have the flat out collectors who just love how cool these sculpts look. They love a certain character. They, when they go to work, have HeroClix sitting next to their monitor, by their computer, or on their bookshelves at home, like I do. So I think this set has a real strong chance of catering to each of those three pillars of the HeroClix fan base. And just to start it off, like the people who are collectors, I mean, this guy, Spider-X, like if we're talking about like sculpts, if we're talking about like a guy you want to put on your desk at work, like Spider-X from Edge of Spider-Verse and the third Spider-Verse story is such a cool place to start for that. So I can't wait to just crack into this bad boy and really see what this set has for each individual HeroClix fan out there who mostly I think fall into those three kind of buckets. And I think these series and these talks, these unboxing sessions that we have actually help blur the lines of those three pillars and help those groups come together and really create one really cool community. So I think there's going to be something in this set for everybody, and I'm just excited to start cracking.
Yeah, me too. So speaking of excitement, I'm excited to bring on our special guest. So what do you say we bring them on screen right now?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's bring
Fantastic.
some friends on. What's up,
Yay.
guys?
Hey, how's it
Okay.
going?
Hey, how you
Hi,
guys doing?
Brian and John. First of all, thank you so much for jumping into the stream with us today. Very much appreciate your time. Super excited to get literally behind the scenes stuff from both of you, like the whole process of, pulling this together. What goes into it? How do you do this? How do you do that? We're definitely looking forward to chatting with you over the next couple of hours about this one for sure.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, Brian and I are excited to talk about HeroClix whenever you guys want to talk
Yeah.
about it. So we're happy to be here, share what we've been working on, what we're excited about, and I can't wait to watch Scott do this live.
Right?
I already get to enjoy all of his unboxings, just like you guys on YouTube. It's just so fun to hear him talk about it and see him get excited about it. So I'm happy to get to contribute to that this time around.
Fantastic. So people know who I am. People know who Scott is. So what do you say we give you each a chance to introduce yourselves? I'm going to start with right below me. Brian, why don't you get things started?
Hi, I'm Brian Galley. I'm the lead designer for HeroClix. So, yeah, just do a lot of the work behind the scenes, making all the actual game parts of the HeroClix game fun to play.
Awesome. And John?
Hi, my name is John Schreiner. I know some of you guys know me from Fanfare and from Fan Appreciation. I am the project manager for HeroClix, one of our few producers and project managers, just making sure that what we make, when we make it, and kind of the whole ideation of it and getting it made.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Okay.
You know, the thing is with this, I saw in the comments because I'm keeping in with the chat as it's going. Somebody said, a chance that this set has something for everyone, as if we don't have a full set list. Listen, guys, here's the deal. I am an anti-spoiler guy, and people don't believe me when I tell them that I can go 3 months not seeing a movie and not get spoiled. There is a way, and I know there are more people like me out there. There are probably people in the chat who don't actually know what's in this set. There are people that I saw actively online saying, I don't want to know anything. I don't go into those threads. I don't go into those chats. I don't hang out. So I think some people here are going to be brand new to this. And I know a lot of you know Brian and John, but it's so good to have you guys fully introduce yourself so that the folks that have never had a chance to meet you or chat with you, or maybe they're newer fans of the game of HeroClix, they get a behind the scenes look here that we've never really done before. So I'm very excited for this whole thing.
Okay. What do you
All
say we
right.
crack open that first one?
Yeah, I always start these unboxings by looking at the outside of the box because believe it or not, for the people in chat, like I don't look at the brick images until I get the set in my hands because I like to be surprised. And I like to start to draw the threads like I always used to do when I was just a fan of the game and I wasn't doing these unboxings. And the outside of the box has so many like cool clues, and that's like one of the like things that could kick off like my mind racing. What's in this set, right? So on the side of the boosters, we got Spider Punk, Spider Bite, Spider Cat. We got Spider Cat on the outside of the boosters here. we've got Pavitar, we've got Spider-Man India. So I'm super excited about him. And again, folks that have seen the movies don't know how important this guy is in the comics, starting in the very first Spider-Verse, the first part of the trilogy, as well as one of my favorite things to spin out of Spider-Verse, which is Web Warriors. He is the engineer, the brains behind the Web Warriors team. So I'm seeing him on the outside of the box means hopefully we get a lot more of the Web Warriors, because that thing written by Mike Costa is one of my favorite rides as far as Spider stuff is concerned in the past couple of decades. And then, of course, we got everybody's favorites, Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider, and Spider-Ham on the outside. On the other side of the booster, we've got, and this is where I get really excited, right? We've got villains like Lady Stiltman. Like, you know what I mean? We're talking about Stiltman.
Just fun to say.
Crazy. You know, we've got the Kangaroo. Correct me if I'm wrong, like Kangaroo from the Sinister 16 on the outside of this brick.
Yeah, that's right.
What are we doing here? We've
right.
got Kraven wearing the symbiote suit. We've got Mysterio. I'm always excited to see a new Mysterio because he lends himself so well to cool game mechanics. And we talked about Moreland earlier. And then I think somebody in the chat was saying, this makes me want to break out Spider-Hulk or Thor Gwen. While on the back of the box, we actually have the Asgardian Spider, right?
Yeah.
He's holding Mjolnir there. And that gives us always a clue on what the chase theme is going to be. Was this a decision that you guys made a long time ago? Hey, let's give people a sneak peek into what's in the set on the outside of the boosters? Because I always look at this and get super excited. How do you choose even who goes on the outside of the boosters, or how you leak the chase scene, theme on the back of the booster? Has that just been something that you guys lucked into, or is that like a conscious decision made a long time ago?
No, that's exactly it, Scott. I mean, we have a call, we sit down and we just go, okay, what would be fun to show on the outside of the booster? You know what, whether it's something that gets people excited for the set, like putting a chase on the back, you're kind of look like, just like you did. You look at the front, you look at the side panels, and then by the time you get to the back is kind of where we put the big, exciting chase. But the side panels, even, you're seeing like all the spider characters of the one just really chock full of as many variants of Spider-Man as you can get on there. The villains on the other side, they just kind of give you an idea of some of the different sub-teams, what to expect in the booster without giving too much away. But there's always a little hint of kind of the top level stuff somewhere on the packaging. Usually, like you said, the chase on the back for you guys. So
yeah, sometimes you even hide somebody up top. Oh, who is up top? Oh, you did hide somebody up top.
Surprise.
I can't just call them out for you. You gotta.
Like the fans get this like preview a long time ago, right? Like Spider-Verse was announced how many months ago, right? And they got just one angled image of the booster. Everybody's like zooming in online trying to see. We've got Doc Ock up top. That's cool.
Yeah.
We've got a Doc Ock with a bunch of money bags
sculpt.
around.
One of my favorite sculpts in the set.
Same, absolutely.
All right.
But we were just having so much fun putting him together.
Let's crack it open. I want to see.
Yeah,
The
let's get in
suspense is
here.
killing
All
me.
right. First one. I always open from the bottom. I don't know. You guys, do you open from
Do
the
that
top or
too.
the bottom of your boosters?
Oh, bottom.
So I open from the bottom just so I can keep it like looking nice.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I'll be honest,
Yep.
half the time it's just full on raccoon
Staring
mode,
him.
shredded open. Just
You're like,
You're just leaving just a pile of cardboard everywhere.
break
Like,
my heart.
All right, let's see.
Brian, he knows how to do it.
Ooh, the first
Who'd we get?
first brick we got. I think this is a spider. Yeah, a spider bite, but more of like the virtual design of her, right? So we got a spider bite. This is always cool. I love getting generics. We got an inner demon, so Mr. Negative kind of theme. We got a couple of Spider-Men here. So here's the deal. I'm gonna have to try and discern who these Spider-Men are as we go through. But
that's part of the fun.
This guy, nobody can mistake. We've got Miguel O'Hara himself. We got Spider-Man 2099 as well. Man, I feel like I'm back doing the gorilla unboxings again that I used to shoot on my phone, just in like my man cave. We've got a Spider-Man, and then we've got, I see, a Spider clone. So I know a lot of people out there have seen the set list, like we said earlier, but these particular pieces, as you're opening, I'm still looking at it like it's Christmas morning. I'm like, wait, what did I get? What did I get? Who is in here? Who is in here? I'm thinking maybe out of this particular booster, I want to take a look at a couple of these guys. And I think the first one I want to look at is, man, I don't know. Maybe this spider clone, actually, as we go through this. Actually, hold on. Spider clone.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, we have our producer Lauren helping out behind the scenes.
you,
We're
Lauren.
getting some
Behind
images.
the
Thank you,
ones
Lauren.
and twos. What I love about this is in the midst of in between Spider-Verse and Spider-Geddon, how we get there is story time with Scotty P. Here we go, everybody. The Inheritors, these, time and space vampires who are hunters of the spider totems. And one of the Inheritors, his name is Genix, he created a way to make them immortal because they did have singular bodies and they could have been killed a long time ago. But Genix figured out a way to clone themselves, right? And he kind of picked up on these cues from all of these spider clone wars that happened way back in the day on Earth 616, right? So this cycle of, oh, wait a minute, this spider totem happens to be a clone. Oh, why can't we clone ourselves? So he's like the engineer brother, right? He's the smart villain brother bad guy, Genix. And they clone themselves. And so as a part of the very first Spider-Verse storyline, the spiders have to figure out a way after they kill one of the Inheritors and then he shows back up. They go, there's something more to this. They have to find a way to stop these guys once and for all. And it's to find this cloning facility, completely kill the cloning facility, and then trap the Inheritors, right? Forever, or so they think. And then you get somebody like Dr. Octopus involved, and he figures out, hey, why don't we start using the Inheritors cloning to try and do cloning better for us? And this whole storyline ends up happening in between Spider-Verse and Spider-Geddon. And it's this really interesting story that introduces the carrion contagion, which is something where all these clones are starting to turn into zombies. Kane, who is a spider clone himself, is hunting them down. And so when I see this spider clone and I think about how does this tie into Spider-Verse, I ask, is that the storyline that kind of pulled this in here? Or did you guys wanted to do it like more of a catch-all? Like we're just doing the clone stuff from the 90s because people that are Spider-Man fans might recognize that? Or was a specific storyline in mind when you chose the spider clone to be a part of the set?
I'll give that one to Brian.
All right. Yeah. Oh. So it was definitely looking more at the earlier, oh god, Jackal clone type.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I don't always look at the storylines too much. I usually send that out to the sub designers. So for my end, we were looking for a good way to have like a nice, simple, generic type character that we could fit into the set and have it work on a lot of different teams. So spider clones were just an easy way for us to get a thematic Spider-Man generic into the set to help round out sealed play.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because a lot of the times the generics that we're seeing are villainous generics. I mean, especially with the expendable goon mechanic and all these things that we have in the game lately. It's nice to have clones that are on the side of the good guys.
Yeah.
It's just my comic book nerdiness that took me down.
Yeah.
The storyline is called Dead No More. And for anybody out there who's wanting to read, Dead No More is a very cool clone story that kind of focuses around Kane and Ghost Spider, actually, as the story evolves. And that's a cool, and it involves the Jackal. Does that mean is the Jackal a part of this set? Did you go down that same road and say, all right, we want to get the clones in here to utilize the Jackal, or did you have to cut it off?
Jackal didn't make the final cut, unfortunately, but yeah.
And see, this is the difficulty that you guys have to have, right?
Yes.
Like we want a good Spider-Man generic, so let's go with the Spider clone, right? But then we are tugging on a thread, and that thread leads to some more characters, right? The Jackal in the Dead No More story ends up being Ben Reilly, who's like the most popular clone of all time. It deals with Kane. So it's like once you start to pull that thread, you only have so many spots in the set, right?
Yes.
So you wanted to keep this thing kind of more Spider-Verse centric, but get some stuff in there for fans who are maybe more casual or maybe just longtime fans of Spider-Man. That's why the clone's in here. Very cool. Very cool. Well, I love it, man. I mean, make a close attack, but only target a character, another friendly character of the spider clone hit this turn for free. Like, I love the fact that once you get these spider clones on the board, they just start rolling on each other, man. Like, if you get 4 of these guys on the board, they're all standing next to somebody. They're all, they're just automatically start beating them up. It reminds me of the old school Morlocks team ability that we had way back in the day, right? Kind of like a new version of like the Morlocks, but it's all these spider clones. So.
Yeah, I think
cool.
like generics like that, especially ones that are, he's works with a lot of the spider theme stuff. It's just really, really fun for sealed play, battle royale type of play, which
Yeah.
is a really fun focus for those low rarity pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. All right, let's take a peek at Spider-Man 2099 now. I feel like this guy was loved by a small sector of Spider-Man fans, but once the second Spider-Verse movie came out, just became like a hyper fan favorite.
Yeah.
Really well played. Oscar Isaac played him, right? Voiced him
Hmm.
in the movie.
Yes.
But the thing is he's always been that cool in the comics, right?
Oh yeah.
I think a lot of people that are more casual fans won't realize that Spider-Man 2099 spent a long stint in our current time frame, right? There are some guys that got switched around. Spider-Man 2099 has been around for a very long time. And the cool thing about this particular character, and everybody's seeing the card here, is I'm seeing a couple of traits on this guy. And this is where I want to kind of talk about the mechanics and how you're choosing what to include here in the game. We've got Wall Crawler, which is a shared trait. And then we've got Friends Across the Spider-Verse, which I'm also assuming is a shared trait. And they kind of start to
Hmm.
piggyback off of each other. When you look at a set like this and you say, okay, we're going to have all of these spiders in this set, do you get do you become a little giddy going, okay, how can we get them like
Oh,
bouncing off of each other?
yeah, absolutely. Finding those mechanical through lines is always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So how far do
Especially,
you want to
okay.
reach back to grab some of the old traits? Because lately you've been pulling some older traits into the new stuff. And I know we have Pulp now, we have Silver Age now, we have Modern Age. So like,
Mhm.
how do you thread the needle of going, okay, we're gonna pull some of these old traits back in. We're gonna make this new age work more with the old age, or is it just character by character? Let's just figure out what works for them first. Like what is it, chicken or the egg thing? Like we want to utilize these old traits. Do we have a figure come into play based off of somebody that we can use with this trait, or are you going, no, this is the set we have, and how can we utilize them best?
Oh, it's little from column A, little from column B. I mean, HeroClix
Hmm.
has a long history. It's been around for we're coming up on 25 years now. There's plenty of stuff we can pull back. So when we're concepting out the set mechanically, we're always going back, seeing looking through the library, look at what worked, what didn't, what was close to working that maybe we can tune up a little bit, and if it matches up with the set and we can make it work thematically, great. Sometimes that's just one character, and we're just kind of sitting like, we'll put it on just this character for now, and we'll just to get it back into public consciousness, and then we can pay that off again in a set or two. And then sometimes, like with the Spider-Verse set, we had a really good Spider-Verse trait back in Superior Foes that we could pull up, retune a little bit, and bring back now as the Friends Across the Spider-Verse. So
Yeah, that's
always
what I
looking for
was.
stuff.
Hmm.
It's so cool that Friends Across the Spider-Verse is making another appearance, and I'm super excited. And they all seem to really play off of each other well. There's a lot of
Yeah.
placement, and there's a lot
Yeah.
of the word
Yes.
place is
Hmm.
very
Mhm.
important in a lot of these. I'm sure you guys are very careful when it's coming to building this. Okay, how do we make sure that they're actually synergizing, they're actually playing well together? So a lot of these placement powers in here, do you just like? Are there any times that you're like, okay, I want to give this guy everything? You're like throwing a bunch of stuff up on the wall and
Yeah, how do
like,
you figure out where to stop? Because I would
yeah,
The
do
where do you
kitchen
find out
so
where
sink.
to
many of these.
stop? That's
Oh,
I
that
would never be able to.
It's tough. It's
yeah,
really tough. Go ahead, Brian.
yeah, where to stop is honestly probably the biggest and hardest part of my job.
Oh wow.
As I mean, I'll write up the design guidelines for the set, send it off to all our design people in our design team. They'll send me back stuff, and sometimes look at it and go, okay, you maybe should have stopped, one trade early. And finding those spots where we can sand it down and smooth it out and make it, but still keeping everything connecting and fun to play. It's work, But
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really tough because I imagine if I give anybody an opportunity to design their favorite character, it always comes back as a chase,
Yeah.
right? Like you don't think
Okay.
to
Okay.
yourself, I'm gonna make an uncommon, right? I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
make a rare. But like those things are connective tissue and they're really important for team building. Like an expendable goon and a whole team built around that might not exist if we only made like the super powered super bomb type of figures. So finding like who to kind of take the guardrails off on and like where to keep the guardrails is really difficult. And I mean, that's a conversation every single set we have with the whole team.
Mhm.
And that's not something we always all agree on, like who should be, the most powerful or if one guy should kind of take the limiters off a little. But I think it's something where we all get to experience kind of putting the thumb on the scale for some of our favorite, either whether it's gameplay or characters or things we know players like a lot of times. So there's something that's really popular with players. Why not make it a little more prevalent or a little stronger, or bring that back in the future set a couple more times, because we know it works and we know that people are enjoying that kind of gameplay. So it makes it easy to just repeat those same things.
Okay. I'm loving that this collaborative behind the scenes as much as it is at the table.
Yeah.
Building the team together. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously.
All
Okay, I want
right.
to see more.
All right. Booster number 2. Yeah, let's crack that
Xbox.
open. Yeah. All right. Boom. Ah, let's see. Okay. Oh my gosh. I did not pull. This is the first time in a long time I did not pull a super rare or prime or something on
You
that
haven't?
back right side of the box like I always open.
Oh, your
That-
secret spot.
Yeah.
I know my secret spot that usually pays off didn't happen this time. Okay, this really has me excited because we
Oh,
have
that's my
this
favorite.
Yeah.
this Mysterio illusion kind of looking thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited. Mysterio is one of my all-time favorite Spidey villains. I think
Mhm.
so many cool things have been done with him, but I also think that as a fan, our imagination sometimes lean into how we see a story, how we perceive a story, all of those things. I've just always thought that Mysterio is so much cooler than
Yeah.
maybe he actually is meant to be by the writers. But that's just how I see him, and that's how I would lean into him. We also got a Norman Osborn and Spider-Man Noir, who a lot of people, of course, love the Nick Cage version in the movies,
Yeah.
but I really love him in the comic books, and we'll talk a little bit about his whole world there that he's got going on. Also in this booster, we have a goon, which we talked about. How we have all these villainous generics earlier, and how getting the
Mhm.
spider clone in was really cool. But I love this expendable goon stuff that you guys have been doing for set after set. It really captures like the comic book henchman kind of. They're always popping up, they're always saying something. And I was actually, I voiced Nightwing in the Arkham games, and
Mhm.
there's always goons everywhere, and they all are like very demarcated. You can tell, oh,
Mhm.
this is a specific goon, another goon, and they have like these face paints on and everything. And these goons, I love the fact that you have started really specializing them.
Mhm.
I can only imagine that in this set we'll get some goblin goons, we'll get some, different versions of these kind of henchmen and everything. I love the expendable trait. And then we've got Firestar,
Yeah.
which opens
Yeah.
the door to a whole other conversation that I want to have with you guys.
I bet. Yeah.
We're
I
just
bring
getting
up this
started, huh?
Yeah, I bring up
Yeah.
these other forms of media. I as a voice actor, I have worked on some of my favorite characters. And as a
Yeah.
matter of fact, I've worked on a spider character that I never really liked until I voiced him. And that's here, I'll show you guys.
Mhm.
This is actually from
Nice.
the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon.
Nice.
I was the voice of Scarlet Spider and it was
Nice.
Kane in that
Yeah.
particular storyline. And then I really started to love Kane in the comic books.
Mhm.
But with Firestar, we have Spidey, the Amazing Spider-Man cartoon.
Yeah.
There was a comic book run that was based off of that cartoon. And Firestar, really, her and Iceman, that was, such an odd mix at the time, where people would look back now that are fans and go, wait, Firestar and Iceman and Spider-Man? What? Why are those people together? But to see her here in this set is really cool. When you include a character like this, that her ties to Spider-Man are primarily known as being, an animated version of her. Like, where do you lean into? Do you say we're going to pull some things from the animation, or we're going to focus mainly on just keeping her comics based? How does that conversation happen, and how do you deliver that in a dial
Yeah.
form?
Well, I mean, we are dealing with comics properties. We do kind of have to keep it comics based. But over time, there's been plenty of bleed through from comics to other mediums. So we can kind of lean up against the walls between there a little bit.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
brought it up
I
earlier, Scott. The Spider-Verse, even though everybody's familiar with the animated stuff, it comes from all the animated stuff comes from, it's based on this editorial kind of comic start. And so while we are, always kind of for sets like these, focusing on those comic stories, there's still nods to what fans are expecting, right? Because right now, if we all think about Firestar in the context of Spider-Man, we're thinking about, her most recent adventures and the animated stuff. So I think that there's usually a nod to that, so that if that's what you're looking for, you find something familiar in Firestar. while still being true to kind of editorial and comics.
Awesome. Yeah, and I misspoke. It was Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Amazing
That was
Friends,
the
yeah.
name of the. There have been so many versions of Spider-Man out. I was a voice in the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, as well as being Gwen Stacy's dad or Ghost Spider's dad in Spidey and His Amazing Friends, which is now the cartoon meant for 4 to 6-year-olds. So
Right.
I tend to get them all jumbled up in my head again. But Spider-Man is Amazing Friends. You have an Amazing Friends trait. Adjacent friendly characters with this Spider-Man family keyword can use Firestar's displayed defense power, which is cool to give an extra boost. I mean, we've got all these Spidey people who have these super duper senses. Now they're getting energy shield deflection, and now they're getting willpower on top of everything else that they get. Again, having these traits, and I'm guessing, well, I know most people know, but Iceman's got to be in this set, right?
Yeah.
You've got the three of them together. Is there a Spider-Man that has that Amazing Friends trait as well in this set?
Yeah. That's the uncommon, I think.
Yeah, there's one of them. I think it might be the uncommon, but yeah, all three are represented in this set. All the Amazing Friends are here.
Yep.
Dude, that is awesome. Iceman I'm on record so many times. Iceman is my all-time favorite Marvel comic character. So I will take as many versions of him as I can get. But you guys just you crushed the exclusive that came out last year.
I love that Iceman, the sculpt and everything. That's one of my favorite Icemans. Yeah,
the sculpt is incredible. The way he plays is incredible. Oh,
I'm glad you like
it's
You're
so
gonna wax
cool.
poetic about Iceman right now, aren't you?
No. I'm moving on. We gotta keep this Spidey based. If we pull him, hopefully I get one of them in this video. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about him. I always love, though, seeing these characters and knowing that you're leaning more into the comic stuff really actually makes my heart smile. Because as I said earlier, the people that know Miles just from the movies, that means they don't know the Ultimate Universe. That means that they never reach back into that, Mark Bagley, Peter Parker run that leads into Miles, coming to the main Marvel Universe. And they've missed so much good stuff.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about this game and, the films or the cartoons or anything is all these different properties, they all are speaking to the same core character, right? Firestar in the comic books isn't so different from Firestar in the cartoons as far as her loyalty, her time with the New Warriors. I see a lot of how she was in the cartoon and her time with the New Warriors. So it makes my heart smile that we're leaning into the comic stuff, but still maybe a wink and a nod at the other media that we go into.
You want somebody to be able to enjoy that and come back into here. I was just gonna say, you want somebody to be able to enjoy that and then come to HeroClix and then go to comics. Just as the same way you want somebody to be able to come from comics and enjoy those new things. So,
yeah. We looked at the Goon, we saw the sculpt of the Goon and then Norman Osborn. They're in the same set and in the same booster. And I want to take a look, I think, at Norman Osborn here, because I'm wondering if he, as a boss man, is going to be spawning some people. And it looks like he does. Raising the Goblin Army is a trait that he has. Friendly characters that are 30 points or less have the Sinister Syndicate keyword and can use Precision Strike at the beginning of the game. Generate a set number 15 Goblin Army on its 15-point starting line. So a lot of these characters, especially like the big bads, Norman Osborn, I count among those, are able to spawn their own henchmen, their own helpers. With every set now, are you kind of looking to go, hey, who is going to have this generic? Because I love generics. I love being able to have a lead character and then build around him in a very thematic way. Do you kind of look at every set going, is there anybody in this set that we can utilize, that we can, do you target generics early, or do you target, characters who can generate the generics early? Is that something that, hey, we're going to have to fill multiple slots with this particular character? Do we want to go that way? Because I'm sure when you talk about Norman, you're going, okay, if we have a Norman, do we have a Green Goblin? If we have a Norman, do we have Goblin Army? Are there certain characters that when you're building a set are kind of like core characters that we're going to take up a couple of slots if we include this guy?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Looking for that sort of connective tissue in the set is one of the earliest things we do.
Yeah, and like you said, we talked about it earlier, like bringing forward gameplay that's popular. Like we love the goons, players
Mhm.
love the goons, and we've heard that feedback from the players. Part of the fantasy of bringing like the superhero battle to the table is like the bad guy's got all his goons, like all these little henchmen I can just chew through, and they keep coming. More and more henchmen keep popping out. You know, that's in every comic, every story, right? And so we love seeing that on the HeroClix table too. Just seeing like the army building, the goon armies are always they're great. It's
Mhm.
just a lot of fun. And it's very comics, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's kind of one of those
absolutely.
things that's like elemental to the superhero story.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a love letter to the villains in that respect
Yeah.
with how you have
Mhm.
that set up. So it's awesome to see it that develop that way.
It's
Yeah, I
also
see
much more
somebody
what
in
villains
chat just
do.
said, I
Yeah.
see somebody in chat just said, I recently won a game with nothing but goons and Kingpin and Titania. And
Yes.
that's the
Yes.
that's the
Yes.
kind
Love to
of
hear
thing
that.
that we're looking for,
That's what
right?
we're
I love
into.
that too.
Yes.
Yeah, that is so, so cool. All right. Should we open
Let's
another
do
Yeah,
it.
booster
let's keep
here?
going. I want to see what else we have going on
While
here.
I'm opening the
Maybe
next
Iceman.
one thing that I loved about Spider-Man Noir in the comic books, and this is just story time with Scotty P, is that
Ooh.
he was the first one that kind of realized like in the Spider-Verse, you've got, a team like the Web Warriors, and they're going trying to fix everything. But so often in comic books, when you're trying to fix something, you're breaking something else.
Hmm.
And Spider-Man Noir started to see that this team and the Web Warriors was an incredible team. Spider-Ham, Ghost Spider, Mayday Parker, Spider UK, these are the team members that were on there. And it was so cool to watch them go through these worlds and fix things. But Spider-Man Noir in the comics, all of a sudden technology starts to show up on his world. And he was the first one to start to notice we are doing more harm to the Great Web than we are helping it.
Hmm.
And that kind of led into that Spider-Geddon of it all. Like, what threads are we destroying? And it especially was very important in the third Spider-Verse book, too,
Yeah.
as, it completely starts to fold in on itself, and these things called tangles start to show up. Spider-Man Noir being from this very hard-boiled, like detective kind of world where it was less about powers and more about instinct and crime solving, he was the first one to start to see that. So
Mhm.
he, as awesome as Nick Cage is in the movies, he is so awesome in the books too. I absolutely love the guy. All right, moving on. Oh,
Drum
very cool. Okay.
roll.
We've got another spider bite, which I'm very
Okay.
excited to see. I'm guessing there's another spider bite in the set that is a more corporeal
Yeah.
version of her. We got one of the Goblin Army members, so you can kind of see you got that green
Speaking of
hood on.
goons.
I love, what I love about these click sculpts nowadays, though, is that even the most basic clothing looks so good. Like the draping on this hoodie on this Goblin Army figure is so good. There's like it's stuff that you guys couldn't do,
Yeah.
even, a decade ago with this stuff. Like the draping, the pockets, the detail, the laser etching is like definitely doing like a huge, huge service
Mhm.
for the game. So
Yeah,
big
we
bravo.
got to give a shout out to our sculpting team. They do some awesome work. I mean, we are constantly like, do you think we could? And then they get all excited and they start
They
because they're people who are excited to bring these characters to life and like elevate these characters too, right? And so sometimes it's just like seeing what they put out, especially like we just did like the Spider Rex. I know you were kind of showing him earlier. He's got like his skin, like the way that the skin is on characters like that. The texture on
Mhm.
that is just like really, really
Yeah.
awesome. That
Yeah.
detail, like you said, clothes and clothing, things like that. It's just really amazing how they can bring those kind of like to life, or even imply like movement in this little statue. It's
God, this
they do a great job. We're always trying to push them to elevate themselves, and they always reach that challenge,
Mhm.
if not
Yeah.
yeah.
exceed our
They really do.
expectations. Yeah,
100%. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean the you could see like the bumps on the scales and everything, and
yeah.
it's so good. It's so very good. But that's why I wanted to bring it up with the Goblin Army figures, just because it seems like something very simple, right?
Hmm.
It's just a purple hoodie. But once you get it in your hands, you're like, man, this is great. Like the draping of this, that stuff is really hard, and
Yeah.
art and artistry, and like to do that as a sculptor is very, very cool, especially on a figure that's mass produced at that level. We also have Black Suit Spider-Man here.
Oh,
I love he's
yeah.
standing on that chimney.
Yeah.
We've got. I
Oh.
love when you use environment as well, because
Mm-hmm.
this
Hmm.
harkens back to a great comic book cover, right? You're
Yeah,
on the top of
exactly.
that
Hmm.
brownstone there, and as a comic fan, I see that and I truly appreciate that. That is so, so cool. We've got our first super rare here in Love it. He has no head. Silvermane.
Hey.
Silvermane, no head. I love it. This is incredible. This is awesome. And then we've got our first time seeing Miles as well, Spider-Man here. So I definitely want to look a little bit further at this Silvermane, but in the same booster, I have what looks
I was
like
like, there should be another.
Yes. And it is Silvermane's head. Here it is.
This
Oh
little
my
freaking
gosh.
fit.
Wait,
All right.
wait. So okay, this is awesome. So it's on just the little, on the equipment base, but you can also take it off, and I believe you can put it on his head. That's
Yep.
awesome, dude.
Yep.
Yeah.
Scott has stumbled on my favorite figure to make
Yeah?
in the set has been
This is-
Silvermane because of this head and pulling this off. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah, this
So
thing
you
is
could
so cool.
show the base for the head again. So it's actually, it can come right off the object base, and you can attach Silvermane's head. Yeah.
And is this guy always going to come in the same booster? The head and Silvermane
Yes.
always come in the same booster. That is really cool. That's kind of a newer design element too. Like about 4 years ago, it kind of felt like there was a shift to, oh, we're going to incorporate this equipment a little bit more, but there's going to be very, very particular thematic equipment that's going to start showing up with sculpts and with figures and everything. This is so cool. So we stumbled upon John's favorite figure in the set. Brian, did you have a favorite character or figure just based on, somebody that you really wanted to make the set, or a funny little design element, or somebody that's a powerhouse that you just wanted to throw in here?
So
No.
definitely not Silvermane. Getting the rules on him right were like pulling my hair out.
I get to think of something fun, like make his head come off and go on the other thing, and then Brian has to make it work.
I
So
really
is that
like where
how
he
it
came out,
works?
but yeah,
Is John like, I'm
was
gonna
rough
come
with
up,
this.
I'm gonna be the idea guy, and Brian, you figure it out.
We all get to be a little bit of the idea guy, but Brian does all the solving for gameplay, figure it out. Yeah.
Gameplay wise, I think it has to be the wall if you end up pulling him, because he's a fun little thing. He's basically a character that doubles as mobile blocking terrain.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Wait,
cool.
the
Get to him,
wall
that's
is in
fun.
this set. That
The
is
wall.
crazy.
Yeah.
The wall
as-
is in this set. What
The
kind of
wall.
obscure? This is
As far as
incredible.
sculpts go, though, there's a really neat pair of sculpts with Dr. Connors and the Lizard, with Connors missing the arm, like looking horrified as he's turning into the Lizard, and then Lizard sculpt fully transformed. It's a nice little pair of sculpts. Hope we pull one of them.
Oh, so the Kirk Connors
Yeah.
is mid transformation,
Yeah.
like where he's really trying to regrow his arm, right? So the whole idea is that Kirk
got
Connors
the,
lost his arm.
Cards here.
Well, Brian's
that is
spoiling.
so cool.
Yeah.
Dude,
almost certainly you will be opening one.
Commenting on
since he's at the low
comments.
rarity.
We'll likely see them later, but
Yes.
Oh, that is so cool. I love that element, because the reason Kirk Connors is the Lizard himself, and not everybody that's not a comic books fan might not know, is that, he lost an arm, and he was trying to figure out how to, regrow these appendages that human beings had lost. It was a very noble pursuit, actually.
Oh, yeah.
But then, as so often happens with a villain, he took it just a little bit too far, turned his entire body into this so very, very cool. Man, people in the comments are freaking out about the wall. They're saying such a deep cut. That is so cool, and I completely
Here's
agree.
one wall you'll never crawl.
yeah.
That's right. That's his. He yells that at Spider-Man. That's my favorite little comic page, man. I love that.
Here's one wall you'll never crawl. Oh my God, I absolutely love it. All right, let's look at Silvermane here just for a second, since Brian said it was difficult to figure out how to apply all of these things. You've got head of the family, leadership, but succeeds on a 4 to a 6. When Silvermane uses leadership and succeeds, you may instead generate a Spiderverse set number 6 goon on its 15-point starting line, which we pulled already. Silvermane starts the game with the Silvermane head special object attached. Okay, trying to get ahead with a space in there as another trait of his when a character holding the Silvermane head is hit by a close attack. After resolutions, they drop the Silvermane head, and the attacker may pick up the Silvermane head. So it's like hot potato with Silvermane's head, which I absolutely love. If Silvermane or an adjacent friendly character is holding the Silvermane head, attach it to Silvermane. Okay, for free. All right, heads will roll. We're really leaning in here, guys. If Silvermane has the Silvermane head attached, he takes a maximum of 1 damage from attack, which is awesome. And I know people in the comments are like, oh God, don't die. It's just getting a new, like, don't die mains are getting a new power here. But this is great. When Silvermane does take damage, if the Silvermane head is attached, unattach it and place it 4 squares away from Silvermane. So he only takes the 1 click. It's like a stop click. He takes the 1, but then his head gets kicked 4 spaces away from him. Then you've got
Brian,
these goons,
this is
right?
brilliant.
Now you're running goon interference, I think. Like, goons are just gophers, basically, at this point, right? The gopher runs out, grabs the head, runs back to Silvermane because you can attach for free if he's adjacent, right? So
exactly.
How did you imagine that? How did you come up with that? All right, he's gonna lose his head. How do you get it back on? You know, what's this play loop with this guy?
So, I mean, I'm assuming it was John had the original. We need to do the separate friction fit head type thing. So I took that like, okay, so we have the general gist of hot potato. I sent it off to one of the people on the design team. Like, give me what you have that can work with it, and he cooked up a little bit. I got it back, and I mean, then it was just a couple of days of coming back and forth on this with the other designer, just ironing it all out because it's rough building a little mini game into Clix and having it feel fun to play. But I like where it wound up. He's going to be a fun little figure. I'm really hoping I pull him in pre-release.
Dude, that looks like so much fun, but it does take a little extra thought to figure out how to play him effectively, right? You know, you want to keep him only taking that 1 click of damage as often as possible, which means you've got to get that head back on as quickly as possible. I'm sure a lot of people out there in the comments are very quickly figuring out, okay, who's the best person to run with him to make sure that head is picked up constantly, you know, make sure it's back to him. A friendly character is adjacent to him. You're putting the head back on. How do we get that play loop going? And I'm very excited. So
the head itself is a special object too. So it does things for the character holding it.
Oh yeah. Let me see what the head does for the person holding it.
Because it has its own base and everything that it sits on. Yeah.
Characters that have this object attached are holding it and can use Mastermind and Perplex, which is
because he's using it like, you know, he's like they're using the head. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love that. Silvermane is kind of a deep cut too, and I think the interesting thing is that, you know, with Spider-Man, he's been around for so very long, and everybody knows the Sinister Six. But what people don't know is, like, the Sinister Six, they're not around for hundreds of issues, right? There are hundreds of Spider-Man issues where you are not dealing with any of the Sinister Six or any of their iterations, which there have been so many of them over the years, or so people think. But actually, it's like 2 handfuls of times that the Sinister Six have had big arcs in a Spider-Man comic. So in the meantime, you're filled with so many of these villains, and Silvermane actually ended up becoming a Spider-Man 2099 foil for a little while 2099 was back. So I think that's a cool little tie-in as well. We've pulled Miguel. He's gone head to head with many Spider-Men.
See, you're getting into it now. Yeah. Once you start rolling.
Let's take a look at the Spider-Man that we pulled out of here too, because it's this iconic web of Spider-Man symbiote. It's the beginning of, and so many comic book fans out there, and I'm sure people in the comments, I'm sure we're going to have somebody who Venom is their favorite all-time character, right? Where did the symbiote suit come from? Who used it first? It was Spider-Man. Where did it come from? Well, out of a machine that the In-Betweener had. It's really, really wacky where the symbiote initially came from. But what Marvel has done since then to build out the lore behind this symbiotes and the kiln, and you know, eventually seeing Null and seeing Eddie Brock be full on Venom, but it starts with Peter Parker, and it starts with how it affects him, right? So it's very, very cool. I just love the fact that also we know from the outside of the booster that I'm guessing one of the primes in this set is Kraven with that black suit on as well. So this is the death and rise of Spider-Man. So I just wanted to take a quick look at that card while I'm grabbing another booster. But if anybody hasn't read that initial Web of Spider-Man run when the symbiote first pops up, people, you gotta go and check it
That's
out.
a good one.
Yes, 100%. When Craven comes into play, also very cool. The Death and Rise of Spider-Man, all of these things, so great. And then the eventuality of Eddie Brock spins out of that web of Spider-Man as well. So cool to see. All right, moving on to the next booster. You didn't know what you were getting into when you said, let's do a live, we're 4 boosters, and we're almost an hour into this thing, and I'm only
I know,
opening
right?
4 boosters. I gotta move faster. Ooh, okay.
Then there's 12
Speaking,
of them in this set, so it's like, hello.
yeah. Speaking of primes, I just pulled one. I just
Oh.
pulled a prime. Ooh,
Oh, nice.
I'm gonna set this guy off to the side for a second, show you everything else I
Aw.
pulled another another goon. Yeah, I always wonder how people react at home when I'm doing that in my unboxing series, and I'm like, ooh, I got something in bubble wrap, and then I open it myself. I'm like, oh, it's Jace, and I set it to the side, and then I'll talk about it for the next 25 minutes. I
And
know
they're
how
just
people
staring at
react.
it like,
No, they just fast
Come on.
forward. They're just oh well, you can't fast forward now, people. Too
That's
right.
bad. We got
Not
Ghost
an option.
Spider. We got Ghost Spider. We got Scarlet Spider. Which again, very partial to as you saw the shirt earlier.
of course.
This was made specifically for the guys who voiced the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon Web Warriors.
Cool.
We were called the Web Warriors as well. And you know, Scarlet Spider, we had Amadeus Cho as Iron Spider, we had Agent Venom. Those were the spiders. Matt Lancer played him. So a lot of great talent on that show, and I wear this shirt every chance I get. So when I see Scarlet, I'm so excited. Ghost Spider. Oh, this is not a character I expected to see. Stunner.
Oh, yeah.
Stunner was a creation of Otto Octavius that ended up actually becoming a villain of Otto Octavius during his Superior Spider-Man run. He created a monster, quite literally. And but the prime that we pulled, and this sculpt is incredible, is Dr. Octopus. Oh my gosh.
I know. I've got a little something for you, Scott. You see
Yeah.
Dr. Octopus there. He's listening. Look at Stunner's sculpt.
Wait, what?
Oh, wait a minute.
Stop it. They interact like the.
Oh, that is awesome. That is so cool.
She's got a little something to tell him.
She
Yeah.
is, yeah. She's like whispering directly to him. That is so cool.
So sometimes
is awesome.
that's like a fun thing that we get to do sometimes, like telling the story through the sculpts, like, and connective tissue. Sometimes it's not always just the gameplay. Sometimes it's not like an obvious over the head thing. Sometimes, it's just a little way that two sculpts interact with each other. Yeah.
Dude, that is like
fantastic.
such a little Easter egg. Do you do a lot of that
Right?
where you're like, you kind of do something and you're like, if people see it, they see it. If not, we did it kind of for us, like thing?
There is a lot of that, yeah. Those like the little polishing kind of touches it. The things that excite us that we get excited about when we're having fun making this stuff because we love all these characters and these stories too. So, like, what would be a fun way to like tell the story of these two of like Stunner and Doc Ock kind of being together, like, and that was how we solved it this time.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. So people who don't know, Angelina Brancali, the Stunner, she quite frankly was given her powers by this virtual reality machine that like Otto kind of like gave her these superpowers to kind of try and make her a hero. But then, he ended up in Spider-Man's body. She thought Spider-Man killed Dr. Octopus, so now she's attacking Otto, even though he's in Spider-Man's body. The Superior Spider-Man is a wacky ride for people that haven't read Superior Spider-Man. Basically, Otto's body is completely and totally destroyed, but in a stroke of genius, he figures out a way to move his consciousness into another body. Unfortunately, the closest person to him happens to be Spider-Man, who he hates with just a burning hot passion, and he has to share the same headspace with Peter Parker for a very long run of comic books, and it is so cool. And he pushes Peter down a lot, but Peter shows up every now and then and is fighting to get his body back. Such a cool story.
It's a really good run. Yeah.
So this prime here is kind of specifically that particular version of Dr. Octopus that right before he becomes Superior Spider-Man, or dude, that is awesome. That is so cool. So I'm looking here at the back, the Amazing Spider-Man number 89. Now, that is actually the second appearance of like the Sinister Six, right? This is like, oh no. I know what this is. This is the first time he faked his death.
Yes,
That
yes,
issue,
yeah.
issue number 89 is the first time Dr. Octopus kind of fakes his own death to try and pull one over on Spider-Man and defeat him for good. He acts like he dies in a plane crash. And that's so cool because the next time he dies and then becomes Superior Spider-Man is another time that Dr. Octopus's body dies. So
Yeah.
when you're looking at these appearances, how particular are you getting with which one we're going to put on the back of the card? So sometimes the sculpt is, you know, a different costume than the significant appearance on the back. How do you choose? And is it just more Easter eggs for us as fans to kind of peel back?
Oh, there's a couple different reasons to pick the significant appearance. Sometimes I don't always see the sculpts just because the way timing's let out. Sometimes I got to get the stuff done before I see what the final sculpt is. So in that case, I'm just looking for a significant appearance that kind of feels like the gameplay, which is why sometimes they don't match up exactly.
Mhm.
But other times I'm trying to find a good significant appearance that matches the sculpt, some sort of like a fun story that costume or incarnation
Yeah,
of the character was in.
the real idea of the significant appearance, sometimes it is one to one of like this version of this character that does this thing is from this comic. But a lot of times it is also like if you enjoy this character and you would like to read a story, a significant story that this character appears in. And a lot of times it is where the inspiration for either the gameplay or the sculpt or something came from. But a lot of times it is just pointing somebody to like, hey, if you're interested in this character, like you need to check out this story.
That's what I love so much is that
Yeah.
for me, it's those specific things, right?
Mhm.
And I did a deep dive on Dr. Octopus quite some time ago when that Superior Spider-Man run was going on. And that's where I really started to learn way more because I'm a team book guy for the most part. I'm not a solo book reader. I wasn't for a very long time, but really diving into, and it was actually one of the older HeroClix Spider-Man base sets where Superior Spider-Man first showed up that had me dive down that rabbit hole. So even
Oh,
me,
wow.
who's a huge comic book fan, and I consume so many comics, like this game pushes me to find fantastic new stories all the time because I go, wait, how do I not recognize this figure? What kind of obscure version of this guy is this? What I love about this Prime Doc Ock, though, is that on the back, you've got that, issue from 1970 where he fakes his own death and then comes back and almost defeats Spider-Man because Spider-Man thinks he's dead. But the powers here are talking about a very specific other time where his body died as well. He's got the trait, I am superior. When Dr. Octopus would be KO'd, you may instead replace him with a Spiderverse set number 47, a superior Octopus on his 45-point starting line. Well, when I was talking earlier about Dead No More, that storyline where all the clones are starting to perish, they're starting to die, they have this carrion disease, Dr. Octopus, actually, when he gets his body back, it is a cloned body and it is faulty. And when the Jackal's plan starts to fall apart, all of these bodies start to degrade. Well, right at the very end, there is a proto clone. There is one specific clone that is not affected by this disease at all. And Doc Ock pulls his tricks and puts his mind into that clone body. And he becomes kind of like this indestructible, unkillable version of himself. And that is where Superior Octopus comes from. So such a cool way for you guys to give a nod to the old school Octopus as well as the new stories. I think this is chef's kiss. Well done. This piece. And the fact that Stunner is whispering to him.
It's incredible.
You guys,
that's a chef kiss moment. I'm sorry, but it is.
This is stuff that you guys in chat that are watching right now would never get if it was just me. Because that's the stuff I can't even figure out. So you're blowing my mind right now, guys. This is so awesome. I'm so excited.
Well, good, right? Yeah.
It's so cool. All right.
Yeah.
Next booster. Let's see what I got. Now, man, that Doc Ock Prime is going up on a shelf now. I'll never forget this.
You got to put them together somewhere on a shelf.
Well, we got more Octopus goodness.
I was going to say.
And usually I would put them aside, but we're just going to go ahead and do this. Here is that lizard sculpt that you were talking about.
Yes.
With Kurt Connors. Oh my God, that is so cool.
Yeah.
That's clever.
He's just starting the transformation.
So you see, he's looking at like he's got now a lizard hand. He's kind of like, what the heck is what's happening, right?
Oh my God.
Oh no.
That is so cool. Okay. That I'm so excited about that. We got another Ghost Spider. We got okay. We're talking about deep cuts right now. So on the outside of the box, we see the Kangaroo.
Mhm.
This is Man Mountain Marco. Man Mountain Marco, a Silvermane goon at one point. We also had him some battles had with 2099 with Spider-Man 2099, but he was also a member of the Sinister 16. I don't know if people know, like, the Armadillo was a part of that, and we've seen the Armadillo in Click's form. Man Mountain Marco, the Kangaroo. Is this is the Sinister 16 a sub theme you've been trying to like squeeze in here? Like, how do you figure out we're gonna give a spot in this set to Man Mountain
Yeah.
Marco? How do you decide who makes the cut? Are you picking up old, sub themes and just trying to finish out teams for us as collectors? Like this guy would have never expected to be in the set. Like, how did Mountain Marco make it into this set? How's that decision-making process happen?
Yeah, I can take that one. So, basically, there are so many reasons, right, that somebody may make or may not make a set list. Some of those are if there's a certain kind of gameplay we're looking to bring. So, some people like goons and goon generators, right? Those are how some of those guys kind of come around. Sometimes it's, hey, who are the villains that we've only done once or not done in HeroClix? And it's how some D-listers like the Wall sneak their way onto a set list, right? Because yeah, for every time that we do, Sinister Six, of course, right? You're expecting to see a Doc Ock in there. You're expecting to see
Right.
Peter and Miles and Gwen. And so, how do you still have what we like to call surprise and delight, right? Like, how do you still find something that you're surprised by that's exciting? Even at that low rarity, right? Even at like, and so you get somebody like Man Mountain Marco who he's not the most exciting villain because he doesn't have any crazy outfit or anything like that. So it kind of makes him one of those guys that we can put at like a lower rarity. It's easy for us to sculpt him and bring him into the game.
Hmm.
And so somebody you still kind of get everything there is to get from Man Mountain Marco without having to put him up at like a rare, super rare chase, something like that. So we get to bring one of those characters in. And it's one of the best things about HeroClix, we think, is that we get to bring like cast such a wide net. I mean, in what other game are you going to get a Man Mountain Marco sculpt or the Wall sculpt or a Kangaroo sculpt, right? So it's like having those exist in HeroClix and just having like so many characters be represented and sculpted to be able to bring to your game table is kind of something we're always trying to do. So when we make, yet another Spider-Man, we've done so many Spider-Man sets. So Brian said earlier, over 20 years. We've been coming back to these stories and these characters. That doesn't stop us from wanting more Spider-Man, to make more Spider-Man, and from you guys wanting to have more Spider-Man sculpts and stories and figures. So sometimes it's trying to pull things we haven't done, revisit things we haven't done in a while, gameplay reasons, or sometimes a driver. There are a lot of different reasons. It is difficult to trim down to a set list. The Spider-Verse especially, where the theme is there's so many variants of Spider-Man, so many villains, and
Yeah.
all these things. It's really challenging, but so for kind of a mix of all those different reasons, we land on people like Man Mountain Marco, and he gets to have a home in HeroClix set.
That
Yep.
is,
Hunter Kovacs is totally on the mark. This is why I love HeroClix. I mean,
Mhm.
Yeah.
seriously, the thought and
Yeah.
the consideration you put into what you're doing is fantastic. So
yeah, and that's what keeps me around. I mean, look, I'm a huge fan, and I even get surprised and surprise and delight, I think, is a great. So that's a term you guys toss around. You're like,
Yeah.
let's get some surprise and delight in here in this spot. That is so cool that is a term that kind of
mm,
helps you develop a set list over time. The next guy that I pulled, and I got very excited about this guy, is the actual
Yes.
Mysterio. Uh, I want to take a look at his card actually, and because I'm always excited how you guys deliver somebody like this. Illusion is his, name of his
mhm.
game, and
Mhm.
how you figure out how to deliver that in Clicks form is awesome. They can't touch me. Incapacitate Smoke Cloud. When Mysterio uses Smoke Cloud after resolutions, and generate a Spiderverse set number 2 Mysterio on its red starting line in a square of hindering terrain within range. Special damage power, but I can torture them. Shape change, outwit, free. Place Mysterio adjacent to the friendly set number 2 Mysterio within range and line of fire. So there's some placement. So he's just bouncing all over the map, right? Creating all of these illusions. So with Mysterio, when you know you're going to include him in a set and you've had him before, are you like put him up on the board and go, how do we crack the figure design? Because we know we want Mysterio in the set, but how do we make him new, unique, special? How do we change? Because we've seen Mysterio how many times in comics
Yeah.
and in HeroClix form, right? So
Yeah.
does he sit up there on the board for a little while until somebody has a bing, or does one of the game designers come to you and say, hey, or, you know, I've got an idea. I've got a pitch on how to crack this guy. Like, how does that work? How many people are involved in designing these dials for the sets for a HeroClix set? And then, you know, how much of it is like pitch and deliver?
Oh, I mean that it varies set to set. We have a like rotating pool of designers.
Mhm.
Some of them, you know, they're freelance. Some of them we go to more often than others. Set like this, usually somewhere in the ballpark of like 10 to 14.
Wow.
Then like for an
Really?
iconics, it might just be like one guy.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
So then
but
I look at it like this. You know, because I working in television, we have a writer's room and we have a certain number of episodes that we know we want to get done. And in a writer's room for a TV show, like I'm on Ginny and Georgia
mhm.
on Netflix right now. It's a mother-daughter dramedy. She's got a past where she was part of a biker gang. She's running from maybe murdering some people and she's trying to keep her kids safe. And it's like this. And so you have broad strokes, story pieces of, okay, I know we want to get this done this season. I know we want to get this done this season. And that's just called like a breaking meeting. We're going to break
Mhm.
the season. Here's some story beats. And then the writing team, you know, that are in the room, they step forward and say, you know what, I think I've got a really great way to deliver this story beat. Here's my pitch for it. Do you get the set list of figures and then somebody steps up and goes, you know what, I think I've got a great take on this guy?
Sometimes, yeah. So we do have a like I run a group of all the various designers we use that we're just kind of have in a digital room that I can sort of like talk about, like you know, think we might be doing this and would have any thoughts, feelings. But when the time you know I actually have a finalized set list to work with, we usually have a couple ideas snowballing. I'll write out, you know, shared traits, general direction for the set, stuff like that, and then I'll bucket up all the characters. You know, pick designers that you know, I think will deliver well on those characters, and hand them off a bucket. A couple of weeks later, they'll come back to me with designs, and then I just polish them all up and make sure they each bucket will gel with each other until you have like a nice seamless set. And there you go.
That's so cool. And then do some of
Yeah.
these designers, because I know in the past I've talked to some people. I think there was a Magneto that was designed by a specific designer, and he said there was this one moment. I knew there was one moment I wanted to capture. I wanted to capture one moment of that. Or, you know, a Madrox. There was a past Madrox who was a very particular moment of like a Jamie Madrox's, you know, life and comics. I mean, he's the multiple man. How you going to pick one moment? But they,
Mhm.
you know, is that ever happened too, where somebody's just like, I want to capture this character's one moment that like made a huge
Oh,
impact on me as a comic fan.
absolutely. And I mean, there have been times where you know I've like write out like suggested whatever, and they send it off, and the designer comes back to me like, "Hey, listen, like, I know what we were aiming for, but have you considered X?" I'm like, you know what? That sounds good. You're committed. You've got a good idea. Let's run with it.
Mhm.
That
And
is
there
awesome.
I
are
love
some
that.
times where they come back with something and we just can't make it work now, so we'll stick it in the fridge, and then you know a couple
Mhm.
sets down the road we can pull it back out, defrost it, and run with it then.
Yeah.
Oh my
Okay, that's
gosh,
cool.
Yeah.
it feels
Uh-huh.
I never thought about building a set out as
Mhm.
being almost likened to writing a TV show. Like that is such a
Yeah.
cool
Yeah.
thing that has just clicked in my head right now. I'm like, man, these
And we
guys.
definitely do kind of like the same thing you were saying, Scott. When we sit down and we know, like, okay, it's going to be this set, it's going to be this theme.
Mhm.
Like, well, we need to have this guy who does this. Like, we need to have this story told, this sculpt, this. So there are some that we pick. We know the beats. We know we want those. A lot of times for chase teams too, we're very like, oh, we want them to kind of play like this. So Brian puts kind of like when he's building all those buckets, it also slips a little like guideline in there to kind of
Yeah.
just be like, hey, you know, like this is what we're looking for. These are the type of gameplay we're looking for on these guys, and then kind of letting them play in that sandbox, so to speak. And they do a really good job.
Hmm.
Awesome, man. Oh, that is so cool. All right. The other thing I pulled out of this booster, and as much as I wanted to talk about two characters, I actually, you know, we have to,
Yes.
before we move on, we have to talk about this is a chase, folks, and it is
You do.
actually
You do.
Dr. Octopus. And it is the old school looking Dr. Octopus with his white suit, with the old money bags. This is giving me old Sinister Six vibes. You know, this is a very particular image of Dr. Octopus, actually. So that is so cool that this is so, but he's a chase. And on the back of the box, I thought we were going to get a bunch of different spider variants as the chase theme, but now we do have Sinister Six as the other chase theme. Is this what's happening here?
So,
Okay.
you know, you've got a Spiderverse set, and there's going to be all these variants and all. We've been talking about D tier villains at these low rarities, right? Well, the
Right.
people are going to be looking for like, well, you know, what about my Sinister Six? You know, what's different about them this set? So we went with, instead of going with all these variants and crazy, you know, all these different versions of all these different people from these different Earths, we were like, what if we just made a really classic kind of chase execution of the six?
Yep.
So you will find them at Chase as a theme. Really exciting, kind of like a definitive sculpt and play for some of these guys, some of these villains.
So the original six, you were talking Craven, Electro, Sandman, Vulture. This is the original six. That's who we're going with. Not the future.
Yep.
So like not like a Hobgoblin or a Hydra Man later guys. So like
Yep.
the original
Mysterio,
six.
Sandman, Craven, Ock, Vulture, and Electro.
Wow, that's awesome. And if all the sculpts are kind of like these classic, you know, versions of, I can't wait to see what else you guys have. I can only imagine what the Electro's looking like. I can only imagine
if you want,
is.
with those wings wide open. I can only
No,
imagine
Brian,
what
no.
each of these
No,
guys
no.
look like.
Ah,
My all-time favorite
we gotta get to the
Spidey
boosters.
villain.
Yeah.
My all-time favorite Spidey villain is Sandman. So
Yeah.
I'm so excited that I can only imagine what you all did with this
Now I have
Sandman.
to.
Okay.
Sandman's the favorite.
Oh,
And then, all right,
this
so
is incredible.
we all have our favorite little things we get. So the Sandman, I will say, you guys have noticed that we've been experimenting with things like flocking, right? Like our Kong that we put out.
Yeah.
I would, if you know, you guys pull a Sandman, just kind of
touch it.
give him a feel.
Give it a
Yeah.
touch.
Does he have
Okay,
like
here's
this
hoping
I
you
don't
get
know.
one.
Rolf kind of, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Yeah, the Kong being flocked is like such a cool thing that had you guys ever flocked a figure before or no?
Nope.
Nah,
Oh,
That was I wonder if we could. What would be cool? This would be cool, and
Good job.
we loved it. So yeah, it's just sometimes it's things like that where we were like, hey, what if like Sandman felt like sand? Like, could we put sand in the paint? Can we put grit in the paint? And yeah, yeah, we
oh
can.
man,
So
I'm so excited.
yeah, so pulling off little things like that too is also really a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta go to Always this weekend. I gotta play and hope I pull one. All right. This Doctor Octopus has a trait that says founding the Sinister Six. But to go back to what we were talking about earlier, is this Doc Ock, even though it's a chase and it says founding the Sinister Six, and it looks like the old school like 70s Doctor Octopus, on the back the appearance is actually, I think, the return of the Sinister Six, Amazing Spider-Man 334 in 1990. That storyline is hilarious, but very cool. Doc Ock plans to take over the world by putting a chemical in the air that will kill people who use cocaine, and then he will find all the rich and famous people who use that and give them an antidote to keep them, you know, to get them in his pocket so that all the rich and famous people doing cocaine will be on his side, and then he conquers the world.
It's a plan.
It's so on the mark
it's
for
a
that
plan.
time too.
Yeah.
Like, jeez.
It's an amazing 1990s comic book story. The Return of the Sinister Six, and it should be read. But the cool thing about the initial appearances of the Sinister Six is they chose not to fight Spider-Man as a team. They fought him one-on-one. So it's like the actual kind of introduction of each of these Sinister Six. And if that's the route that we're taking with these chases, being kind of like a definitive version of each of them, I can't wait to see what you all pulled out of your hats. All right. Man, I could talk about that booster for a very long time.
We could talk
but
about
we gotta
these
move on.
so long.
I hope everybody is having fun in the chat.
Chat's loving this. They're
you know,
they're loving little reveals and little insider information that's been coming up throughout the stream. So
It's
this is
fun for us to
fantastic.
share. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just love that
loving
John and Brian have been keeping things secret from me. Like I am
Right?
I am
Can't tell you
flush with
everything, Scott.
I am flush with excitement here. Okay, next booster. We've got Miles again. We've got wait a second. Oh, this is cool. Okay, I didn't expect that. We've got Miles, and then it looks like is that stealth suit Miles, like in the same booster? That's
Active
cool.
camo,
That's,
Miles.
Active
is
camo. Yeah.
is that just a happy accident to get active camo and Miles in the same booster, or is that a deliberate thing as well as some of the other game elements?
So I think that one, they're both a lower rarity, so that's just happy accident there with
Oh,
those guys.
cool.
But so that's something we think about too, right? Is like making sure you're including like it's a Spider-Verse set, right? And whether or not it's the comics, the third comic run or the most recent animated series, there's a Peter Parker and there's also an expectation of like Miles. Like Miles is just kind of centric character to Spider-Verse. So like making sure, somebody like that is at a lower rarity. So you see him, as you open sets and you see Miles and you're not kind of like, where is this guy? I haven't even opened the
That's
Miles yet,
awesome.
or I haven't seen a Peter yet.
Yeah.
Making sure you see those guys and not just at the higher rarities with exciting gameplay, but also, at the bottom. So that also your sealed and your pulp matches are still full of all your favorite spider characters. So
Yeah, that's
That's a
really
clever
cool.
way
I
of
mean,
handling
because
it.
pulling him, and also when you're working in sealed, it's always fun to be able to use a game element that, maybe isn't on, like you can sideline something in a
Mhm.
sealed game. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of cool to be able to
Yeah.
do that as well. The last two guys I pulled in this booster that I actually just quick story time of Scotty P stuff. This is Spider's Man. Possibly the creepiest creation to ever come out of a Spider-Man book ever. And
It's my favorite
this
Spider-Man.
is so cool to see. Spider's Man is your favorite Spider-Man?
Spider's Man is
Yeah.
my favorite
It's
of
Brian's
the
favorite Spider-Man.
multiversal Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is awesome. John, who's your favorite multiversal Spider-Man? Do you have one?
So I'm a Spider-Punk guy, but I'm a huge music nerd, music head. So like I just want to see him smash people over the head with a guitar. Like that does it for me. I'm
Dude,
happy.
my dad is a drummer, so like that
Yeah.
element of Ghost Spider is like so cool to me too, that she's
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
drummer of the Mary Janes, and like
Mhm.
the fact that her and Spider-Punk get together and jam out is so cool. To
When we
to
did
the
that
point that
chase
they
theme, I love that. Like
Oh,
the Gwengers and they all had their
Mhm.
instruments back in that set. I
yes.
love
That
that.
was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
that your
I'm a
pitch?
Spider-Punk guy, yeah. But I also
Oh,
like
Spider-Punk.
Spider-Ham too. He's how do you not?
I
Spider-Ham.
mean,
That's my favorite.
from the outside, it looks like he's holding a hot dog. Is that your idea?
I don't know if it was my idea, but he's definitely holding a hot dog.
Okay, let's see here. We've got the other guy I wanted to take a look at, and this is so cool. This is the Spider, and the Spider is Peter Parquois, and he is in the service of the Queen, right? His parents have died. He is recruited at a very young age, and this is in the year 1602, and a storyline that was done in the early 2000s that I absolutely love. It is a pre-technology take on the Marvel Universe, but there are still elements of it that hearken to us. It's a world where the Age of Heroes, which is something that happens on every world, it is a, I don't know, canon event, you could say,
Mhm.
where heroes start to become what they are meant to be. It happens about 400 years too early on this earth. And Nicholas Fury, who is the head of the Queen's agents, recruits a very young Peter Parquois to kind of be espionage. He becomes a stage actor, and it's pretty
Mhm.
cool, like how they utilize that element in his talent to get him into situations where he can kind of protect the queen and her country. He eventually ends up in a new territory in America, and there's some really cool stories. So it's the first time we're seeing 1602 in HeroClix form. Is that
Mhm.
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So when you kick somebody like this into, right? Because you have all these versions of Spider-Man that you can choose from. Is it important to you guys to kind of go, okay, you know what? Is there a version of Spider-Man we can pull in here that we can kind of spin off as a sub-theme into future sets?
Of course, I mean, anything like this that we can build off of and come up with. I'm trying to think how to best put it. We're always looking for opportunities to seed mechanics and playthroughs into future sets. Give players a way to latch on and just you know, keep building that collection.
We
Yeah.
want them to connect through, right?
Right?
Like we
Yeah.
want it to make sense.
Mhm.
Like you
Good
get the
through
set,
line.
you get the next set, and there are things
Yeah.
that cross between them that make sense that play together. Same thing sometimes. Convention exclusive. I mean, I think we did it recently with Deceased. So we had some of the
Mhm.
Deceased guys in the set, and then it was like, well, man, we couldn't fit everybody in the set. There's so many more cool Deceased guys. Like, well, we can just start putting those out, and they still have some of the same gameplay, so they link back to those other figures. So
Mhm.
sometimes things like that. We can put one guy in a set, and you might wonder like, oh well, why didn't you sculpt these other guys that work so well with this guy that go with this guy? Where are the other people? Like, well, that's just an opportunity that we could give them to you in another exciting way or in another product or set. So
Oh, I
So
can't
it's
wait.
one of
I
those things
can't
that's
wait.
fun to kind of like connect all the things together.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I knew Spiderverse was going to be a really cool story, but it
Mhm.
was going to break my heart. Was the first person
Yeah.
Morlun destroys is Peter Parquois.
Yeah.
And he is protecting Mary Jane at that point, his version of her back in the 1600s. And he goes toe to toe with Morlun, and Morlun just devours him. And I was like, what? Well, I haven't seen him in
No.
years. What'd you just do to him? Why'd you
Like
do? Yeah,
he started,
so
you're like, oh, here he is. Awesome. There's gonna be so much
yeah.
of this guy.
Yeah.
And then none of him. I was so anytime I get more of him, very cool. Spiders Man, for people who don't know, it wasn't just one radioactive spider that was being experimented on in the place that Peter Parker wandered into. It was a vat of them, and Peter Parker falls through the glass and into the pit of spiders, where they devour him. But somehow his consciousness seeps into each one of these, millions of spiders in this spider vat, and he literally is a walking group of spiders that is contained
Yeah.
within a suit. And if you rip that suit, which the Green Goblin in one's particular universe learned, the spiders come out. And
Nope.
there's this rumor, and I have
D's
to
favorite
imagine,
Spider-Man.
Nope.
Yep.
I have
No. You go to least favorite this one.
I have to imagine that, there's this thing that, like, if all spiders on Earth organized, they could eat the like the entire human population in something like 90 days. It's like a
Yeah.
myth that is commonly said. And like he's basically that in Spider-Man form. And I won't spoil everything, but he doesn't end up being a hero. Let's just put it out that way. He's a
Shocker.
part of the cool thing about Spider-Verse, Spider-Geddon is you have two dueling teams of spiders. Um, Heroic, very altruistic spiders, that's Spider-Man UK and Ghost Spider, who are willing to do things how they see it the right way, no killing, et cetera, et cetera. But then you get these versions of Spider-Men and Spider-Women who are definitely willing to kill. You have Ashley Barton, you have Spider Assassin, you have there are so many crazy, really violent versions of Spider-Man, and Spider-Man definitely falls into that. And they usually follow the Superior Spider-Man or Otto throughout these big mega events as people who do things the way he thinks they need to be done, which is just however it needs to happen, right?
Yeah.
If you got to kill, you got to kill. So very, very cool. All right. I'm going to fly through these last boosters as quick as I can just to see what else I pull. If there's any story time with Scotty P, maybe I'll pop into that. But I know we want to get to a back and forth with everybody that's been in chat with us as well. So the next booster I pull, I'm pulling John's favorite. Spider-Punk.
There we go.
Yes, and he's
Yay.
of course he's swinging that guitar.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love that he's got his white Converse on too, right? You know how dirty they are, right? Just grungy, grimy,
Mhm.
I love Spider-Man. I love his entire world in the Spider multiverse mythos, It is a world that's kind of bereft of technology as well. It's not like too advanced, but it's to the point where they can use sound to lead a revolution. And I love his attitude. I love the way to deliver that in the books. And then they did such a good job of making that translate in the movies as well. I'd love to see these guys, the little spider bots.
Yeah.
Superior Spider-Man utilized these guys an awful lot. And we've seen
He
actually
sure
spider
did.
bots in Clicks form before. We got another Goblin army, so I'm super excited about this. And then we got the corporeal version of Spider Bite. And for folks who don't
There you
know,
go.
Spider Bite, she lives in a world that kind of reminds me of like a Ready Player One, where everybody spends their entire life in this kind of VR world. Everybody's plugged in all the time with their headsets on. And she is kind of like the police in that particular world. She goes in, she's created this really cool version of herself where she jumps in and out. So I'm guessing this kind of
Yeah, exactly. It's
clear
the
version of her
hologram or
is,
the digital version of her. Yeah.
Right.
and she can project herself to be in more than one place at a time. That's how she stops a lot of this cyber crime. She's like this cyber spider, basically. Very cool. And then a spider clone. So got a couple of generics on both sides. So super exciting to get generics both for heroes and for the villains. As
I
I'm
can't wait to
pulling
see these.
this,
like these battle royales or pre-releases just be like goons, just generics and goons and spider armies, and yeah, it'll be
So
fun.
many, right? So
Yeah.
many. And I do want to say that I have pulled a couple of one shots here as we've been going on, and I haven't been
Oh, I was
talking about
wondering.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have canon event and assemble the team. I'm hoping, I don't know how many there are. Let's look at the numbering. There's at least 5 because I have one that is one shot. So
There
There
are
are
five.
5.
There
Oh,
are
there's
5.
5. Okay, great. So
Not to
5
give
one
it
shots.
away. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are
There you
5.
go.
Yeah.
For fans of Clicks that have been around for a while, when the tarot cards came out, it kind of felt like Battlefield Conditions to me. And I've been around for a very long time, and Battlefield Conditions were just a huge part of the game for a while there, back when Armor Wars and some of the other sets were out way back in the aughts, I think. Man, that was that long ago. And then we got these one shots, and they kind of feel a little bit more like the orange cards that we had once upon a time that you could attach, which that was my highest ranking ever in a HeroClix competition, is when I was running feats with my team. I was running the Ultimate Spider-Man, the one with the backpack, and I was running him with the lamppost, and had a couple of different feats on him. So is that something that I asked you earlier? How far back do you want to go to grab like shared traits and stuff?
Yeah.
Was there a movement amongst the team to say, hey, would it be kind of cool if we had something that felt like feats back again, or
So-
what was the impetus for these one shots?
That actually tickles me when people are latching onto them as feats, and I'm more proud of people if that's how they see it. But to me, equipment is the feat analog. It's something you pay some points to assign your character at the start of the game to give them an extra bonus throughout the game. Whereas one shots, things you pay points to put them on the sideline, and you get a once per game, you can burn them to do a little like game altering thing. Those are ID cards.
Yes, you're right.
But you're not the only person who's been saying this. Like I said, if people see feats in them, great. Like the feats are fantastic.
I see feats in them just because you can't transfer. I never saw feats as equipment because you can't transfer them amongst different figures on the
it's
map.
not one to
Like,
one, but
if you had armor piercing on a Quicksilver, as soon as that Quicksilver is KO'd, you couldn't give the armor piercing to someone else. Which, those were the days, man. I would run my X Factor team, and it was so good. Nanobots on Quicksilver. Let's go.
Like I said, we have a wealth of game design going back to the start of HeroClix, and we can always go back and look on every set. We're looking to see like if there's something that we haven't done in a while that we can tune up a little bit and bring back into modern. So yeah, we're all there is nothing's off the table. We're always looking for stuff that'll be fun to play,
Yeah.
That's really
I love
right?
that.
If it's fun.
Yeah.
If we
I
think
love
the
that you
idea
look
is fun, we
back
think the
and
gameplay
choose
is
those
fun.
things, though.
Yeah.
I love that you look back and say that was something people loved. That was something that actually, like, maybe we could do a new iteration of. And so ID cards were like the impetus for this.
ID cards, but what if instead of a character it was a game effect, was basically the seed behind one shots.
Okay.
And then you also get to take you get to look at something and be like, okay, what worked, what didn't work, what tweak can we do to it? Like Brian says, they're not one to one. They are different in ways that matter a lot, and we hope and we hope that those differences make them feel really good in gameplay. So
Well, I love that you looked at it and said, how can we improve? Maybe make them easier to get a hold of.
There are many
one-shots
pros and cons, right? Yeah.
I remember how difficult, like, I was chasing ID cards for a while, which is, but it was a lot of fun. All right, the next booster I pulled a couple of the guys that we've been pulling earlier. We've got another Mysterio, which is great for me because if I want to run this Mysterio, I need a few of these guys.
I love the Mysterio illusions. Yeah.
Another active camo, Spider-Man Miles, and then Tombstone, which I love seeing in the set as well. Had a lot of different run-ins. It was a part of Silvermane's time on Spider-Man as well. The magia stuff, Silvermane. I love like the threads that you can tie from him. But you mentioned equipment earlier, and in this booster we got, and we've seen this kind of in Wheels of Vengeance when we had the motorcycle, but this is really cool. Didn't expect this. The glider.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I definitely want to take a look at it because this kind of game element now, like now that it's actually taking up a figure base instead of just being a piece of equipment, right? It just allows so many different figures in the set to utilize it in a much different way. I love that it's got, it's 3 clicks long, the glider. It's a large object. If glider is on the map, characters can't occupy its square except to move through it. Adjacent characters can't be given a power to equip glider as can be given a power to equip glider as if they were in its square. Glider is not unique, so you can have gliders all over the map, which is really cool. When the glider is unequipped, if it can't be legally placed, your opponent places it in an unoccupied square, so it can be, it could be utilized by them as well. But I love what it gives people on your team, the effect. When equipped, turn glider's dial to any click. This character positively modifies their speed value by glider's speed value and can use the powers displayed on glider's dial. And it gives any figure flight. So what's the decision that goes into, okay, let's see, you've got Hobgoblin, you've got Jack-o'-lantern, you've got Green Goblin, you've got all these guys, they all use the gliders. Was it kind of we can't fit all those characters in this set, but what if we can just make everybody have a glider? Like, what was the decision making behind it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian.
Basically that. The other half of that too is after, players really latched onto Wheels of Vengeance. That the Hell Cycle, Motorcycle from there were showing up everywhere. Like, we knew this was something players wanted more of. And the glider was just a fantastic opportunity to dip back into that and bring back that sort of vehicle-based gameplay.
Oh,
Yeah,
awesome.
like seeing who people put on the motorcycle has just been so much fun ever since Wheels of Vengeance came out. So now, as soon as you see something like that glider, what we want is the first thing that you start thinking is, oh my God, who could I put on the glider? Like all the characters that I could put on the glider, this would be so good for X, Y, Z, and then, or just wouldn't it be funny if this person was on the glider, or I had my whole team on gliders, like you said earlier. So just giving the players the freedom to kind of choose how to play with those. And the thing like a motorcycle or the glider is very open-ended. So kind of the players get to take that and make their own fun out of it. And it's almost like this really limitless potential where this can go on to any character that doesn't have flight, and there's just so many things that you can do with it. It's really fun to see. So yeah, it was one of those like, hey, we could put a lot of these different guys in the set on the glider, which kind of comes back to, okay, well, we should make a one glider and put everybody on it's the same goblin glider, and then we're like, well, what if like anybody could be on the glider? And then you start to slowly think, kind of like we talked about, when that glider exists in the set, does it mean like we can't make a Green Goblin come somewhere further than, like as an exclusive or something like that ties back into the set? But for this time around, we decided to put the focus on the glider itself, and we think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, I can't wait. Do you have a favorite? Who has ridden the motorcycle that tickled you the most?
Oh my goodness. I love like that they had like goodness, like anytime that people are riding around with just like the huge characters, like the oversized people, and then they got the motorcycles on the team, it's too funny for me. Brian, I'm sure, has like a short list of
there's plenty of like good meta team, but yeah, like I saw
I like the funny ones.
Some people working out, how do I get Kong on a motorcycle?
Kong on the motorcycle is just like that sentence is perfect. It's art. We need to go no further. Yeah,
that's so cool. Kong cycle, let's go. Okay, the next booster.
I want pictures. If someone is playing that Kong on the bicycle or motorbike, I want pictures of that. Okay, like post it on socials and tag WizKids, please, because that
custom
needs to
Kong
happen.
with the bike actually under him. Perfect.
Yes.
That would be awesome.
Okay.
Yes, please tag WizKids of that, please, 100%. The next booster, we did get the man himself, Bobby Drake.
Hey.
So I did get an Iceman.
He's standing on some ice too.
He has that same sheen that he had in the cartoon, so it's pretty cool. Like you guys have played so well with this translucent Spider-Man, like having Iceman, or having like the old school like snowman Iceman, who's just like puffy and throws snowballs and everything. I imagine that like Iceman at first for me was I don't know, I would have thought like a very simple dial design. We kind of give him some blues, some hits of white or whatever, but it seems to me like you guys have really leaned into him as like we're going to make the most impressive figure we can out of ice. So I have to applaud again the sculpt designers and the artists that work on sculpting for you guys, because every Iceman who has just the most basic color, you could ever think of, and could just be same every time you see him. He looks so incredibly different and like sometimes majestic. You got that. I mean, you made it an ice mecca. I mean, you guys have really gone down the Iceman hole. I think somebody there is just as big a fan of Iceman as me.
It could be.
Am I right?
Yeah.
I think so. Iceman's a popular character. He's a really like a beloved character. And the thing is, like you said, if you wanted to just make an Iceman to check the box, you could make this clear or just an all-white Iceman, like just throw it away, right? But I think that the character deserves more than that a lot of times. So,
Yeah.
how do you make somebody who has so little going on, like costume or suit-wise, sometimes exciting? It's by giving him like more icy things around him, or having him making that cool ramp like on the one figure, or just like the detail on the sculpt.
So cool. Also, this booster pulled them together. That's so cool. So that's a happy accident. You get the lizard and Kurt Connors in the same, and that is so cool to see that transformation.
Yeah, you got like the one, like,
dude, that is
then he
awesome.
turns the head to look at the other hand pops out. Yeah, very fun.
And then I got Spider UK, who might be my favorite member of the Web Warriors. I'm telling you guys so much, like the Web Warriors theme in the books, as far as like Storytime Scotty P goes, in the first Spider-Verse, you have Web Warriors are made up kind of the cartoon versions of Spider-Man all coming together. Ultimate Spider-Man from the cartoon series is in that version and he's just trying to make the Spider Buggy is in that group in the original Spider-Verse story. And he's just trying to make Web Warriors stick. He's like, call us the Web Warriors. Come on, man, call us. And this is the ultimate Spider-Man trying to make it a thing. And everybody's stop trying to make fetch a thing or whatever, whatever that, right? Stop Yep. But then after the events of the first Spider-Verse in the comics, you need a team that can kind of police. And the natural guy to do it is Spider UK, who is a member of the Captain Britain Corps of this is cool. Of Earth 833. I was going to say of Earth 800 and something. And what a cool design element, guys. I applaud you so much for you include the Earths that all of these spiders are from. So Peter Parker of this Earth, Billy Braddock of this Earth. So cool that you did that. So Earth 833, though, people need to remember, like Hickman's Avengers run is happening during this time as well. So incursions are happening, worlds are being destroyed, they're being taken off the board. And in the continuity of the greater Marvel multiverse, worlds are disappearing. And Spider UK's version, his world that he is from, is eaten up in these incursions, and he has nowhere to go home to. So it's only natural for him to stay on Loom World, which is where the Great Web is based out of, Earth 1. And he is the leader of this Web Warriors team, and I love that he is included in this set. He is my, I think, favorite Spider guy to come out of that storyline. And then, man, he meets a tragic end at the beginning of Spider-Geddon and eventually comes back around, as we all do. But I was just so happy to see him. But when you're dealing with this kind of massive theme like Spider-Verse, again, I don't know how you all do it, how you all choose who gets in and who gets out. But it seems to me like Web Warriors was kind of a focal point for you guys. It feels like Spider-Ham, Spider-Man Noir, I don't know if Mayday makes the set, but, was that something where you go, we've got to distill this down into a more consumable, team of spiders? Where do we start? Was that kind of what happened?
Yeah, I mean, if you were to go with any one team of spiders, we could basically make the set out of any one of the Spider-Verse runs. So it's tough because it's like you want to do a little bit from everywhere, just a little bit of everything. So yeah, I think inspired by that, but also still just like sometimes it's like, okay, what are the most interesting or fun sculpt gimmicks that we could pull off for some of these guys? And maybe that's what gets somebody in over someone else. So Spider-Man UK, he's sitting there having his cuppa, and he's also standing on a tea saucer. If you see at the bottom of the figure, instead of like the usual terrain, he's standing on a little saucer there. So just like some little fun things that we get to do with the figures. And then also I think he's the Captain Britain, so he's got like Mystics team on him, which I think is something very different for a Spider-Man. So it also lets us it's still a spider character, but he has
Mhm.
different kind of gameplay, and so sometimes that's the
Well,
impetus too.
that's the thing, is being a part of the Captain Britain Corps. That means he's a part of Otherworld
Hmm.
of Earth 833, which means he's under Saturnine, which we all know from like the big X-Men run that is a very mystical, crazy kind of place. And these
Exactly.
guys are imbued with magic. I mean,
Hmm.
that is a part of what the Captain Britain Corps is given its powers from. So it makes perfect sense to me that he has mystics. That's exactly why he would have it. And I love that he's having his cup of tea. He found a home away from home, and I hope she's in the set. I guys in chat, I have not seen the full set list. I chose not to look at the full set list. So, did Lady Spider make it in? The steampunk version of.
No,
No
not
Lady
Oh,
Spider.
yeah.
Sorry.
okay.
Hey,
I'm gonna
something
right
to look
now.
forward to.
I'm gonna right now put my hand up and start petitioning for Lady Spider. She is such
There
a
it is.
cool
Oh,
take.
right there with
Uh,
you.
This is my
She
pen.
yeah.
she
I'm
is a
writing
fun
a
one.
note for you.
And
Yeah.
the fact that
Official.
he's drinking this cup of tea is he ends up kind of stranded on her world for a while in the middle of an awesome storyline called the Electroverse, where all the Electros pop up across the multiverse and they join together following a leader called the Battery. And she's a huge part of that story. And he ends up on her world and he's like, this feels like home. I can have a cup of tea. I'm just like policing this jail that they lock all the Electros in. And it's this really cool thing that he's able to do. So I love, and he has the Web Warrior shared trait. He has friends across the Spider-Verse. And we talked early on in this chat about all of these shared traits and how so many of these spiders play so well together. I can't wait to see how the players of the game actually figure out how to take advantage of
Hmm.
that, because so many of them, if you go down the rabbit hole, place being like a really important word in this, how you
Yeah.
figure out how to do these chain reactions for all these shared traits, right? They all seem to roll into each other, and that's really cool. I really want to be able to save some time for these questions, like 10 minutes at the end there. So I'm going to burn
Okay. I
through these last two boosters.
was gonna say, how many boosters
Man,
do you have left?
it's
Challenge is
funny.
on.
We had a conversation, Via and I, last week, and I said, I don't know if I can fill 2 hours.
Well, we were thinking it was 10 boosters because we forgot it was up to 12.
We got up
So
to 12, yeah.
Yeah.
technically you and I were on the right track. We just forgot about the other two boosters.
Right track. We were on the right track. This next booster, I pulled a spider bot. I pulled black
Oh.
suit symbiote here,
Oh, nice.
Oh, there's
Yeah.
one. Yeah, it's very cool.
which I'm guessing has a
Waiting
game
for them to
element
show
where
up.
it can be absorbed onto another figure somehow
Mhm.
as well. Kind of works almost like a glider in the fact that it's something that is boosting somebody's powers.
Hmm.
Is that
So
correct?
the symbiote is actually a character, but when it gets KO'd, it then can glomp onto another character on your team and sort of empower them as a bonded symbiote.
Bonding to a host. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
Yeah.
awesome. And so many people are Venom fans out there. I know so many people are going to be excited about that. But uh, two figures I pulled out of this booster. Slide?
Yeah.
Slide is in the
Hey.
set. What? I mean, how did Slide get into this set? I mean, that is crazy. Okay, I mean, this dude was like around for like 4 issues of like
Yeah.
Spider-Man over time, and then I think was like killed in Civil War at one point. I think he was
Yeah.
killed by Tombstone, Hammerhead, one of the two of them. Like,
Mhm.
I get them mixed up sometimes, but he was also a part of Crimson Cowl's Sinister Six, so there is like that kind of thread as well. It's looking like we're seeing a bunch of different versions of the Sinister Six villains, and
Mhm.
Slide. The fact that Slide is in this set is awesome. And then
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier I pulled Ashley Barton.
Hey, there she is.
Yeah.
She is one of my favorite Spider iterations in any Marvel book. And a quick story time with Scotty P. If you don't know who Ashley Barton is, if you read Spider-Verse and she comes into the fray and she is willing to kill, she is violent, she does not care about other people, she is all about her and her kingdom. She is the kingpin of the Old Man Logan, Old Man Quill, Old Man Hawkeye books. So if you have read those books and you're not like a huge Spider fan, you're going to be familiar with her. If you're Spidey only and you haven't read some of these other books in the Marvel universe, I implore you, go read the Old Man Earth stuff because it is very, very good. And she is such a cool character. She is cold. She is heartless. She is not a villain, but she is definitely not a hero. But she grew up in a world where heroes and villains always just carve out their place in society, right? And she kills the Kingpin and has no remorse about it. She is the granddaughter of Spider-Man. She is the daughter of Hawkeye on the other side. It's Hawkeye and Spider-Man's daughter that end up getting married. She's a product of them, a product of who should have been heroes, but in this universe end up not being quite that. So, I mean, she's got a huge Earth 807128. That is a very long thing. But the old man storylines are so cool, and she is such a cool take on the spiders, and the fact that she's got Kingpin of the Wastelands trapping Inheritors on her, like she is very, very integral to the defeating the Inheritors because of her ability to do the hard thing when the hard thing is necessary. So I love that you threw her in this set. That is so cool. I've got 2 more boosters quickly just to see who's in them. Man, I have had so much fun. Thank you so much, guys, for doing this with me.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
You have
It's been a lot of
surprised me
fun.
at- you have surprised me at every turn, and I think chat has really, really enjoyed this. I hope you all have. Seeing me get surprised, blindsided by some of this really
That's
cool
been
stuff.
definitely a highlight for sure.
Okay. All right. There is a figure in here. I definitely want to look at the card, and I have a question for you guys because Spider-Verse, the main villains are the Inheritors. And I haven't seen any of them as we've been pulling this, and I was kind of thinking that we maybe would. So I did pull Morlun here, who is the main villain in the 616, universe. He has been defeated by Spider-Man, our Peter Parker, a number of times, and he's almost scared of our world. He doesn't want to be here. But I see that the rest of the Inheritors are a part of his power set, right? Bystanders that he can pump out, that he can create. How is that decision made? Because these Inheritors are so incredibly powerful. Once you make the decision to put them onto bystander tokens, how does that work? Are we going to get more of them? Are we ever going to see them in figure form? Because each of them, I mean, Solas, his father, is one of the most powerful villains ever to exist in Spider-Man lore. I mean, he is the one that birthed the rest of the Inheritors. Verna is a sister of Morlun. She is awesome because she has hounds made up of old Sinister Six, members that she has pulled from different universes and made to work for her as her like war dogs. Like each of these characters like could really have a cool, unique, HeroClix figure, but we had to put them onto Morlun's card. Like what happened, and are we going to see more of them possibly?
Sure. So I think that one of the things to think about is if we made them all figures, that's how many, like you can't do 2, you can't do 3, right? So that's so many spots. And what we've already talked about how many times is like just so full, like such a full set. So one of the things we think about is what we can't not have, right? They have to be represented. Morlun, especially, is such a centric villain to these stories. So putting them in Morlun's gameplay is a way that we could represent them in the set because they belong in the Spider-Verse with Morlun, but is also, I mean, putting them on that bystander doesn't say they're not going to ever show up, right? It just is gameplay for Morlun, for this Morlun, so that feels complete and you have that whole family kind of, so that the storytelling is there. But you're right. I mean, each of those characters is powerful enough with almost exciting enough story. You can almost imagine the gameplay for something like the Hounds and those things. I think it's something that as people are excited about these characters, that we always look for things that we said we seed and continue into future, whether it's exclusives or other sets. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe some of those Inheritors show up. So
I'm going to put my hand up one more time. Lady Spider and the Inheritors. Do we see them in another form in this set at all, or is this the only place
I think that it's just Morlun is where all the gameplay for them are in this set. But keep your eye on the future.
Okay. All right. I will. Because Genix with the clones and Brix and Bora, the twins, being a duo piece.
Yeah.
Like, I can already see. So I'm going to put my hand up and just say,
there's just so many things that are hard to fit. They're so hard to fit in the set. I mean, even just, you think about like, I see people have been asking in chat a couple times, Venom, it's like, there's when you start thinking about all the Venom characters and Venom versions of characters, there's so many characters. It's almost an entire theme.
Well,
Yeah.
he's got the Venom verse. He's got the entire Venom verse. I mean,
Right.
that's the thing.
It's almost an entire set theme.
Yeah.
But we did pull Bedlam, who is another version
Nice.
of Eddie Brock of the Kings in Black at the End of Time. So I did pull him as well. That is so cool. And it looks like he's a bee sculpt. So that was a way for you guys to slide an extra.
So he is actually, he is not a prime, but he appears. So primes, we all know that they come, they're rarer, right, than their counterpart. Bedlam should show up about as often as the A and the B. Like it's about a 50% chance when you get that spot in your booster, it's one or the other. So that's something.
We got a bonus figure. We got a
right,
bonus
the other
character.
being Venom, yes. So I think that's one of those things where this is something that we tried with. What's a way that we can show some of those characters and have them be like directly related to each other without it being a prime? You can only have one prime on your team. If we fill the set with primes, you start to have this like, oh, I actually can't use all these pieces together. I have to pick and choose. So we were thinking, are there ways to do variants on a slot that aren't primes necessarily? So this is again, Bedlam and Venom is us giving that a shot here, and I think especially in the set after this, there will be some very interesting things that we do with.
Well, that is so
splits.
cool to see. I mean, we have a certain number of figures in the set, but the fact that you've got a 50-50 shot to maybe it just gives us as HeroClix fans another way to build out the set. That is so cool, and I
a little
agree
surprise and delight
with Blazing Panda when W design 100% for the players. That is so cool. And Jackson, it looks like, is saying that the Inheritors have solo pogs and chase boosters. Are those different dial designs than what we get on Moreland's card?
In the chase boosters, they have those bystander pogs.
Yeah.
The Inheritors have a sort of like A B side. One side is the same as it is generated for the off Moreland. Then the flip side is a point costed version of the Inheritor that you could just run as
by themselves without Moreland.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome. Okay. So
and that's more just an upgrade to the Moreland and those characters and giving them a little bit more attention.
Yeah.
Awesome. Before we jump into question and answer, the last figure I pulled that we didn't see yet.
There he is, making me hungry.
Yay!
We got a little Spider-Ham.
He's got the mustard too. Look at
He's got the mustard bottle as well.
I love it.
That is so cool. The Spider-Ham from the last booster. So we did it. We got through 12 boosters. We got through my whole brick. We saw some of the extra stuff that we had in the set with I mean, look at this trio here. I mean, this is
I love that one.
I love on the back of it, you can see the water in the water tower.
So I had to decide, like a whole full water tower is just so much. So it's like we're like, how do we fit it on the space? So it's like it's got to be able to support all three of them jumping off of it. So we're like, well, we got to put something in it. Like it can't just be an empty back of the water tower. So put some water in the water tower.
That is so cool.
Yeah,
man.
why not? I thought it was really that one's really fun. Like those three characters belong on one dial together.
Yeah. Completely.
Definitely.
I completely agree. So, all right, that's that. I think I'm going to hand it back over to B if we've got some questions. Huh?
Okay, I'm gonna come out with an easy one. Oh, yes.
I'm just giving these guys a round of applause.
Seriously, how do you guys hear? You stick around because some of these questions.
For the set, they're not leaving, but for the set.
I was just you were cutting them off.
I am so stoked. I am so stoked with everything I pulled here. I am just like I'm beaming. I am like I said, flush with excitement. This is so cool. All right,
awesome,
amazing. Okay, so quick and easy question from John F is how much elevation is on the release day maps? Is that something we know off the top of our heads, gentlemen?
I don't know off the top of my head how much elevation is on them, but Brian might.
So, I mean, if you could tell me the name of the map, I could, but I am blanking on which maps were the release day and which
I could.
That's fair.
Sorry, that's a I could look it up, but right off the top of my head, no, sorry. That's a very specific question.
I'll get into it here.
That.
Yeah,
we can move on, but I think it's an important question, right? Because so many of like Spider-Ham, when you can place for free on a different elevation, and that can trigger new other powers and stuff. I think from what I saw on his cards, so very cool.
Like there are There is one map especially that is kind of I guess we'll give it away a little bit. The Tangle, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of that Spiderverse, that
Three
web
levels of
zone.
elevation. Yeah, it's from the
Yes,
very
and
end
that
of
one
Oh,
is.
there we go. There we go. There we
Let
go.
me tell you that one will
Yeah.
be a very good map for your spider
Holy
teams.
heck,
A
it
lot
has
of
a
elevation
massive-
on there.
It
Yeah.
has a massive amount of
So
elevation.
see, that's why when you're
Yeah.
asking me how much is on there, it's like I
Okay,
can tell you
cool.
that there is an amount of elevation. I don't know what exactly how
There is
much there is,
elevation.
but
Three
we
levels of
certainly,
elevation.
cool.
yeah, there are
Yeah,
3
the
levels of
Tangle-
elevation. Yeah.
The Tangle is like the biggest part of the third Spider-Verse story in the comics, and so cool to see the Tangle. And yeah, there are 3 levels of elevation.
Yes.
So 1 to 2, 2 to 3. There is different elevation all over this map, if that answers
Yeah.
your question.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
But there's a lot of
on
it in
this
different
side.
places too. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly if you just meant how many levels or like is there a lot of tiles with elevation on them? But yeah, it is
Yeah.
there's a lot to play with on that one.
And the other side
Okay,
is the
great.
Hall of Science, and there's no elevation. So there you
No
go.
elevation in the Hall of Sciences. It's
There you
indoor.
go. So cool. All right.
Okay, cool. Samuel Phoenix is asking, I know Kraven was mentioned as a prime. What was the design insight behind him?
Oh, so we set out to capture Kraven's Last Hunt storyline, which is just one of the most iconic Kraven storylines, but it's also a very delicate one to dip into. For those who've read it, it's got some dark themes going on.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I'm trying to think what exactly were the guidelines I gave out for that character. Oh, geez,
I know that was one where we had like we had that iconic, like we wanted to be taking the mask off, revealing the Cravens there, and we definitely, when we make an element like the building that they're standing on top of, right? And we think like, okay, is there like a second person we could use this on? Is there a second way we could use this? Like thinking, Craven also kind of has that same iconic, the mask is ripped off and he's standing up there. Exactly. There he is.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I mean,
and
it's
that is
outside the box,
that's
so-
the Mysterio that we did see either. That is
Oh,
Is that
Oh,
is
yeah,
that the Chase Mysterio?
that is Chase Mysterio, yeah.
You put Chase Mysterio on the side of the box, you sly
Yeah.
dogs. I didn't even recognize the fact that is. Oh my God! Yeah. Holy. Oh.
And one
he's
of the
so-
little things about Chase Mysterio, and this is another shout out to our sculpting team. If you look inside of his smoke effect around him that you can kind of see, I know you're just looking at the picture on the side. There's arms and heads
Little
and
fists
like
and
it's
arms
all
and
different
stuff.
little pieces of Mysterios. Like it's literally like a cloud of illusions. And that Chase plays right along with all the illusions at the low rarity. So it's hopefully something where when people
That's
keep
cool.
opening, because it's common, you're gonna have a lot of Mysterio illusions on your desk by the time you're done opening your brick. But when you get the Mysterios, even the low rarity, the uncommon and the Chase both want you to have all those illusions to play all over the map. So it's kind of fun.
Awesome.
Very cool. Okay, this is going to be the last question. What format, this is from Power Action Clicks, what format do you think this set will impact the most?
Ooh, Brian.
Ooh, yeah, that is definitely my. I don't know that I can just say like, oh yeah, this is the one that's going to. I'm not sure how you measure that. I think the set is definitely going to have a strong impact. There's a lot of really good stuff at all rarities. I always think I kind of lean more towards Pulp as the one that's going to be the most effective when I hear this sort of thing. As Pulp is, I think, the one that's got the how to phrase it. Sorry, it's a rough.
It's a little bit of a loaded
formula.
question. Like
Yeah.
Brian,
Gotcha.
tell me which where this will be strongest.
Yeah.
Ideally, right? There's something. It should have an impact
Something for everyone.
on every format.
Yeah.
I think that we kind of talked a lot of this chat here about all the goons and all that kind of gameplay seated at the low rarity, which is where I think Brian starts to think like that's obviously going to have a clear impact on Pulp.
And get the way to phrase it. Like for a long time, we were not designing for Pulp as a format because Pulp as a format didn't exist. But now that we're getting it supported, we're leaning more into Pulp. So we're really targeting, CUR as an exclusive format when we're designing stuff. So I think Spiderverse and upcoming sets are going to be have a lot more effect on Pulp than sets previous to them will have.
By design. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen the chat. People are a little upset about 2 questions. I mean,
Yeah, this is our first time out. Unfortunately, I
Yeah.
do have some time constraints on my side.
Sorry.
Sorry, folks. However, I have been seeing everyone's reactions in the chats and in the chat and the feedback, and that people are excited about maybe exploring this in the future. So let's just say I'm taking note and I'm making a little list of things that I think could be fun for next time and how we can kind of expand and make sure we have that time for some Q&A too in future exploration of behind the booster. Brian and
Yeah.
John, thank you so much for joining us today.
yeah,
This
of
has
course.
been
Yeah, this was a blast.
phenomenal to have all this, insight into how things get done, into how you work together collaboratively as developers for the game, into how you select the various characters to include in the set list. I mean, seriously, I've been sitting here just smiling and grinning at Scott's reactions, finding out new things. First of all, that has been wonderful. But also just hearing like how the process of this comes together to create such a cool and eye-opening set in terms of what you're tapping into and what's resonating for you as you're collecting the various characters together. So thank you for this. This is wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I have to say thank you to everybody that hung out with us in chat. And I feel like a lot of the questions that we were seeing, like we were getting so many cool answers from John and Brian in the midst of it. Blame me. If you would have blamed anybody, I talked a little bit too long. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I was supposed to be wrapping it up, but with enough time to take
It's
more
okay.
questions. But thank you guys so much. And John and Brian, I gotta say, the insight you gave us as a community as to what goes into these sets, I feel like it's questions I've had for so long, but I've never even had a chance to ask or see or have had answered. And so cool to hear what goes into making these sets and how geared towards the player, like you guys are really thinking. It's pretty cool. I'll never forget surprise and delight, as John said earlier in the call. And the fact that you all are thinking about that as you are building these sets and going, how can we surprise? How can we delight the players? How can we give them, the solid meat of what this set would be, but then what elements can we sprinkle in? What little spice can we add? And I'm so appreciative of that. And I'm so appreciative of you guys taking the time out to be here with us.
Hey, my pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having us on, Scott, and letting us kind of party crash your booster opening here.
Happy
love it.
accidents,
fun.
man.
Yeah, hey,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
we love this. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget, today is pre-release day for those of you who have stores that are participating in that. Next week, March 5th, is the full release for this fantastic Marvel HeroClix Spiderverse. So you can do your own personal
Yes.
unboxings yourselves. In fact, I want to see what figures you are pulling when the time comes, when you get these booster bricks into your hands. Post them on your socials. Tag WizKids. Do a fun little hashtag of your own creation if you want to. But we love seeing what you pull and what you're doing and how you're building your teams when the time comes. So make sure you let us know what you're up to once you get these into your hands. Again, thank you, Scott, John, Brian. This has been fantastic and so much fun. I am taking note that people did enjoy this big time. So let's see what we can do moving into the future. Okay.
Noted.
And yes, we'll build in more Q&A time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. That's my fault. Anybody that has a question specifically for me, you can get at me at scottporterheroclix@gmail.com. Ask the questions. I'll be happy to answer them. And anybody looking to have more of this set, or if you want to give to a great charity, I am auctioning off everything that I pulled today as a part of our HeroClix for Huntington's initiative. So stay tuned to my socials and to all the Clicks chat communities that you guys are a part of. I'll announce when that auction is going to be happening. Happy to sign stuff and make it a part of everything. So everything you saw today, including a bonus legacy card, which I didn't open, and the play at home kit and the release day kit, is all going to be available in that. So keep your eyes out for that. And thank you so much, everybody, for being here.
All right, everyone. Take care. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.